How's it going, guys? It is the Zim that Zilla's back again, once again. It's been some time, honestly, it feels like, since we've done a live stream, but I'm happy to be back here again, working on some videos, some live streams. And this time it's actually something really, really fun. This is a stream, a retrospective, talking about Godzilla, specifically Godzilla King of the Monsters, the first American attempt at a Godzilla movie. So hope you are all strapped in for that. And as I am a late boy trying to get everyone up and at 'em when it comes to the information in regards to what's going on today with advertising. But for the people who are here, Spyro, today, hello. Minecraft World, hello. Antonio, how's it going? The stud himself, Nico. Xenomorph, how's it going? Stud again, Nico. Kaiju, let it ride! Let it ride! Wasn't able to finish my reread of the script on time, but I can hopefully contribute. No, it's not Xenoning time. It is Zimming time. You were correct the first time. It is the Zim time, as always. Now, I can start getting people into the chat, but how's everyone doing? I hope you all are having a great, wonderful Sunday. Of course, I got another Sunday off, which I'm happy because it means I was able to do this. And yeah, no, things are doing good. As you can see, I was able to get a Godzilla design off the ground, essentially. It's not exactly a one-to-one of the like stout design. It takes elements from like all of them, which you can see on like the speed paint itself, but also the DeviantArt that I did for this piece, which is one of the places that you can find me, along with like other places you can find me, such as Patreon, which I'll do a little widget right there. It definitely helps out the channel a lot. So if anyone's got any specific questions or topics they want to see us cover or discuss when it comes to things surrounding this film, that would be awesome. That would help out a wonderful, massive ton. But as for my own thoughts about this movie, which I'll get into, having reread several versions of the script, but primarily I think what we will be doing is focusing mostly on the first one, the third revised one, which is interesting to note because most places you can find this script, there are 3 scripts you can find. There is the first draft, which is first revised draft, then there is third draft, and then there's third revised, which means there was a first draft, the first revised draft, the second draft, not sure if there was a second revised draft, then the third draft and third revised. So there possibly are 6 scripts, but there are at least 3 we know of, and one of those is we have 2 third versions of the script versus we have none of the second and we don't have the first one. All the ones I've seen of the first one seem to be first revised draft. Couldn't sleep well last night because for the same reason I was having a vivid dream of some random superhero that's giving me bad headaches. I'm just as confused as you are. Okay. Interesting. Sunday. Tonight on Sunday Night Football. No, it's Sunday Night Zimcast. Without further ado, let's just get into it when it comes to the wonderful world of the stream submissions. But I get to use this because one of them was created by the world of Minecraft himself. So I think now, and every time I'm about to start a bad stream, I have to do it like this. Which, for anyone who's curious, the one time I cracked a cold one on stream, I haven't watched that part of the stream, but that is the actual sound itself that was clipped that Kaiju Kuru took and Minecraft World did the animation. So that was awesome. I love that so much. But let us just get into the wonderful world of the stream submissions, guys. And it was actually a lot. I think it's because of the fact that I didn't stream a little bit, so everyone had some things to post. And I know there's some people who posted more than 2, so if you see some art of yours that wasn't shown, then it's literally just because of the fact that I just want to keep the limit for everyone to be just the 2. So in this case here, we got 2 pieces that are comics by Xenomorph, who is in the stream right now, which nice job on the inking. Obviously not completely finished, but the line art's pretty solid. The expressions are good. Like, this is awesome stuff, man. I'm not sure, are you gonna be trying to like do something indie with this, or is it more just doing it for your own fun? And Serena, how's it going? How's it going? So good job here, my man. Love both of these. And now Lau Kaskeg, as it says right here, he did a Gilyu piece, which is awesome. But I was like, it looks like something from Tales from the Crypt, and I forgot to show it to my coworker. I need him. I'm gonna screw with him next time I see him and be like, hey, I saw this Tales from the Crypt piece that was like unreleased, and see if he realizes whether or not this actually is a genuine article or a fake. But I think what I really like about this piece with how Lau did it is that the face is flatter, but it also looks more human, and it gives it a almost fishy fishman type of face compared to the Gilyu I did, which based on the angle, it's less sort of humanoid, almost like broad in its proportions. And especially with just a little bit of the arm here, you can tell there's a humanoid shape to it. Like, it's very Deep One Gilman-esque looking, and I love it. It's a really good piece. And speaking of Minecraft World, he did a Gaiatima the Gigantus little piece here with some of the other monsters, and then Gaiatima himself in the foreground. Love the artwork here, man. But then he also did a little Zolonyx pic with him just kind of looking out on the sea. And I'm still working on that short story, which can be posted here to the channel. But I really liked what he did here because obviously Zolonyx is a Martian monster. There wouldn't really be any water on Mars. So at least just the sight. There's something about a creature that's never seen water, seeing it for the first time. And I do want to probably incorporate that into my story. Now from Nico himself, it is Zap Jaws, essentially Paradox Eleking versus the Trauma Horse, Zidon. Awesome job. And as well as the background, like the whole atmosphere. Love what you did here, Nico. But then he also did Biosaurus, specifically the original crew design, or I'd say aka Biosaurus. Now, I may have to do another Biosaurus, specifically just this version, just so I can do my own take on it, because obviously I did a redesigned Biosaurus. So I love to hear, and there's someone else who did a Biosaurus design as well. So I might have to incorporate this and this into my own take on the character. Like, he's just an amazing little guy. I love it. You got the Deca Alien Queen yesterday. Hey, look at that. Awesome. And Gilyu. Speaking of Gilyu, not to like derail the stream submissions, but the Gilyu video, the short for that, got taken out and copyrighted by this random like Chinese company. Like, they said that I took some of their music, and they're claiming like a small bit of the video, which is annoying. Like, it's not. And I know that like if my claim gets disputed, I'm definitely gonna like escalate it. But for anyone who is interested, I'm gonna put the Discord link right now in the description. The Discord link is also in the Discord link's in the description, but I'm also gonna put it here in chat for anyone who's interested. I showed the picture in general, so like if anyone wants to spam Team YouTube and show that's not like these people are abusing the copyright system, then I would appreciate it, because like that's annoying. Like, I put a lot of work into the picture itself, and like, were it like the actual copyright holders, I wouldn't mind that at all, because I am using someone else's copyrighted material, but it's not even their copyrighted material, which is what grinds my gears on it. So that's annoying. Arctic Wolf, how's it going? I think you're new as well. Thank you for joining. Hi, what's your thoughts on Rodan Season 2? Well, for me, regardless if this is the same one from Codem or not, which it is more likely a different one, hopefully Rodan's done justice to Season 3. Hey, if we get Rodan in Season 3, cool, I guess. It's nice that, like, clearly they were able to use Rodan again. I just wonder, like, rights-wise, like, how long or, like, how much it costs them just to get that small cameo in there. But I don't know. Like, is it cool that Rodan is back? Yes. Am I invested in this Rodan? No, because I don't think it's the same Rodan. And anyone saying that it is, they're pointing to a VFX comment that someone made where they state that it's essentially the same Rodan as King of the Monsters, which if you look at the wording and you look at the like everything else involved in that quote, it has nothing to do with the lore, the story, and it has everything to do with the asset of the character itself, which in that case, cool. But other than that, like, that doesn't really mean anything. Like, it's not the same Rodan. So, yeah. But I love this piece. I love this piece. And then JDF did a little, this is his thumbnail for his Guardians of Earth series. He did a commission from Green Gojira with such a purple monsterverse Godzilla with a Baragon, poor Baragon, and then Kiryu. I think this is his first time kind of taking on Mechagodzilla. So awesome job here. I know you wanted to showcase that. And then let me zoom back out for some Hoshi epicness. So his two monsters kind of clashing and duking it out, which is Appo versus Kairos. Appo on the left, Kairos on the right. Definitely has that very manga Kengan-esque inspiration to it. Love it as always, my man. But then he also had done Kaiju April. I wasn't able to do Kaiju April. I was super busy. But I know Minecraft had done something similar where he did portraits of like several of the monsters' heads, which is cool. So awesome job for him. And like, I know some of these people's monsters, some of them I don't. But Hoshi really did a lot of them justice. I just like his style in general. So I don't know. I guess he improved a lot of them for me. What can I say? I really like what he did here for like his monster and then all the other people's monsters here. Now, second to last is another Biosaurus piece. This one being the Vic, as I choke on air. Now, his version is a lot greener compared to Nico's, which is obviously very different from my redesign. Because even when I was pulling the original Biosaurus colors, they came up as a green, which is darker than this green, and was closer in color to the blue that Nico uses. Because I saw the picture and I put it into my own software. And I got like there's like three different colors essentially working with Biosaurus. But I love this as well, which I'm definitely gonna want to probably do a like original OG Biosaurus design and pull from both Vic and Nico's versions, because these are awesome. And I love the pose he did too. He's like, it's like a goofy little pose, but it's like still kind of menacing, and I love it. And then he also did another one of his original monsters as well, with a little beach setting. And I feel like Vic does like a lot of beach settings, which is interesting. And yeah, I know like he's done several with this monster. I'm not sure. I know I want to get Vic on for the stream, so hopefully he's able to join. If not, it is what it is. Because I know like he's been doing more stuff with Pocho, which he is still working on trying to get his Pocho figure going on. So if anyone is interested in helping him with that, that will be a great help. Not just to me, but to him as well. Because the more of us who are able to work on our projects, the better, I say. And we'll do the last two because they just came in last minute. And they are both from Serena. So we'll pop up one first. This is a blender piece that she's been working on for a Queen Ghidorah Monsterverse 3D model. And a whip of Godzilla as well. But this one is for her own Godzilla story, Godzilla Nature's Law. So we'll go over this one first since I have it up. I like the incorporation of the white. It gives him a more menacing appearance, but also the proportions are just a tad different, although it may just down to how posed the picture is here, as well as the spines are definitely different. But like, I like it. I almost, especially with the white around the eyes, it reminds me a bit of the T-Rex from Dinosaur Revolution. So I really like what you did here. But the Queen Ghidorah is definitely your pride and joy because you've done a lot with it. Main thing being the heads are very different from a classic King Ghidorah with almost like Navi Pandora inspired heads here, and almost I was gonna say stripper heels for the legs, which I bet those are gonna be changed because you're still just working on blocking everything out. But it's specifically like she's got yes legs. So yeah. Give me 1 second, actually, guys. I'm gonna pop off, and I'm gonna let the music play for. Whoop! I'm not sure what happened with that, but I'm actually gonna bring in some people right now so they can talk a little bit while I answer something in the background. So let me bring them on. It is both the Minecraft world,
Hi.
and the Kaiju Guru.
I was literally just coming on just to like very quickly say, I also gotta do something very quick. So Minecraft, keep them entertained.
Yeah, Minecraft. We'll pause the music right there. Minecraft, keep everyone entertained. Real quickly.
Hi, everybody. How are you all doing?
You're funny.
How are you all? Yeah, no, yeah. So, I am, yeah, I wasn't able to finish the thing. So, did you all watch the newest death battle? Gru versus Megamind. I streamed that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm also yeah, stop motion stuff. Yeah. I will not spoil the winner, but yeah. Also, I want to state on the Biosaurus stuff. Vic, your pose for Biosaurus reminded me a lot of Hanna-Barbera's Godzilla. Yeah.
Skibbly bibbly. Okay, I'm back.
Yay. Did you watch the death battle?
I did not watch the death battle because honestly, I didn't. I with like silly characters, I just don't particularly care all that much. So like with Gru and Megamind, I'm like, okay, it's interesting, I guess, but like, I'm not invested in seeing like their scaling chains or anything like that.
Xenomorph's comment. Fuck, he's back, hide the weed!
He's back, hide the weed, I'm dead.
Yeah. But yeah, also, while I'm on here, I'm going to be working on my animation history final. I'm writing an essay about the fight sequences in Gamera Rebirth and why they're actually good.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. I sent a message to one of Joey's friends to ask for some behind the scenes references.
Oh, interesting. Oh, like who'd you ask, like Nick or something?
Nickenheimer.
Yep, called it.
Yeah, Joey sent me his way. So,
yeah, no, Nick does good stuff.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, Braden's coming back with a new video on 16th. Yeah, I heard about that. I know he wanted me on for a stream, I think on the 6th, I think, which I may not be able to join. So yeah, I'll see what I can do because I know he'd asked me and I wasn't really like getting weekends off are always hard.
Yeah.
But without further ado, let's get into everything so far. I know Kuru is muted right now because he's got something into, but I guess we can go for you first, Minecraft. Thoughts about Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
1983. I think it's fine. It's one of I still think the 94 film is borderline untouched when it comes to scrap
I think
concepts,
the robot died.
Like, for a first attempt at an American Godzilla film, well, what?
I think what's the first second? I think you cut off. I'm not sure why.
Oh, yeah. For the first attempt at an American Godzilla film, well, technically second attempt because Volcano Monsters, but it's honestly fine. Like, it's definitely more along the lines of Gorgo than Godzilla, but it has a lot, but it's very clearly, like, you can tell this is Godzilla, and it's still generally faithful. Like, I'd say design-wise, it's fine. It definitely has a lot of poster children for 98, but it feels like it's still close enough to Godzilla that I can't really say it's bothersome.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, I just think it's fine. It's not really the worst thing on the planet. Far from the worst scrap concept they've ever done that exists, but I don't know. It feels like a predecessor in a lot of ways to both 98 and the 94 film.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
I know personally for me, like after having read all the scripts that we do have, I actually like it a lot more than I originally remember. And in some ways, I might kind of like it more than the 94 script, only because there's like some details that are sprinkled throughout it that I think had this been the first Godzilla movie that we got in America, it might have put us on track for better Godzilla things down the line. I think that's my opinion, I'd say.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's fair. And I mean either way, both of these are better than 98 in every possible way.
Yeah.
I showed that to my friend on Friday, and both of us had a lot of fun riffing it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, that rewatch genuinely made me pissed. Not at her, but at the movie.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's like,
So I know Serena had asked just for a quick rundown. So for anyone
I
who
live!
the crew lives, we're just about to get into a rundown of at least what it's
Yay.
like this movie itself, or at least the background behind it. So
Okay.
yeah. So in this was project kind of was planned in 1982 up until 1983. Steve Miner is the one who proposes the idea to direct this film. It's approved by Toho. Toho allows Miner to conceptualize the film and starts seeking people to work on it. So this is where you get writer Fred Decker on board, and then later on William Stout, who would become production designer for the film. And you get so far as, again, several scripts all the way up into a third revised version, along with physical props such as the Godzilla prop that people have famously seen in varying conditions, might I say. And ultimately, for one reason or another, the film was not allowed to be made, and budget primarily was the biggest thing because they wanted to make it for about 30 million, and ultimately Hollywood thought that this film would be a children's film and did not want to spend that much on a children's film, and therefore the project died. And ultimately, because of this, or just because it was being developed around the same time, the following year in 1984 is when you get the return of Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Very similar reasons on paper to like why the 94 script got canned.
Yeah, no, it's both of those were budgeted.
And it just makes it so ironic to an almost like infuriating degree, considering how much 98 wound up costing.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, 98 was like triple the budget.
Yeah, well, 150, 160 million.
And it's like,
that's not including any
compared
of the other things.
Compared to like 94 was 100 million. This was like 30 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like this was
94 was 140 million, and then he kept pushing it back to 130 to like, and then he was like, I could probably do it for 100 million and still make it look good.
Which I could see it.
And then essentially, yeah, like 30 million. We have to do like conversions for that because I'm wondering how much 30 million would be in like 1984's economy.
Remember when films didn't cost $200 million?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah, but like, yeah, no. I think you should also do a rundown of the plot because not everyone was able to read the script in time. I mean, I wasn't able to.
I was able to do like a brief skim, and I'm like, I guess I can share my thoughts really quick.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but it's inoffensive.
And which one did you read? The third one or the first?
I skimmed through 1 second because I know Pyro sent them to me. So
Pyro sent you all three, I'd assume.
Yeah, he sent me all three. 1 second. Let me actually check which ones I read really quick.
And for context, I was going to say...
I skimmed through the first draft revised and the third draft.
Okay. Interesting.
I can take a look at the third revised one that you were talking about really quick. But what exactly are some of the differences? I guess that's where we can start.
I would say like probably at least if anything going over the general plot because they're essentially all the same.
No, like they're all the
part.
same structurally. I think the first one just has some characters that don't appear throughout.
Yeah.
Also,
but before I forget,
Serena, no, this is not the one with the Griffin. That was 94.
Hmm.
This is the one where Godzilla is a solo production. Like Godzilla is on his own.
Yeah. So in this case, for context, 30 million in 1983 would be about 99 to about 100 and like $102 like million. So about almost like essentially like 100 million today.
Yeah. No, so like that's
essentially about the 94 script as well.
That's about 94 script, yeah. Which I think once we get through the plot, we'll probably go around like visuals because people were asked because Nika was saying like correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they plan to use stop motion for the effects?
They said they wanted to use stop motion and other effects as well, so like animatronics too. But I want to say that in this case, when you're looking at it, this is a very much a pre-Jurassic Park world. So as a result, I think had they used like animatronics of that nature, they'd come closer to the De Laurentiis King Kong, especially because Stout was already involved with the De Laurentiises to begin with. So I'd be surprised if they would have tapped the same talents that had worked on King Kong.
No, yeah. In fact, I think King Kong, Laurentiis' King Kong is probably the best frame of reference with Laurentiis' Kong coming out less than a decade prior, and then King Kong Lives coming out, 3 years later? Yeah. And then also, Snowy Space also brought up Ghostbusters, which I think is another good example for how this film would have looked.
Yeah.
Same with Star Wars. But, yeah.
I think with Star Wars,
what was Return of the Jedi's budget?
I know they got it pumped up a lot after the first one did super well. So,
Return of the Jedi was 32.5 million to 42.7 million.
Yeah, so it'd be working within a similar budget to this.
Yeah, and then for comparison's sake, Ghostbusters 1984 budget. Ghostbusters was 30 million as well.
Yeah. So, I think another reason why they probably thought that Godzilla would be a kid's film, because besides like the obvious Showa films, silly, goofy, therefore Godzilla is silly, goofy, is if you look at something like Ghostbusters that has a similar budget and a similar sci-fi vibe to it, it's not like super kid friendly, but like you could have children go see it. Whereas
it was at that point where they just still weren't taking stuff like this seriously, and still aren't to this day to an extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just looking at films from 1983 for comparison's sake.
Yeah, I'd say like another good analog would be something like Conan the Barbarian, because that had a budget of 20 million.
When was that?
That was 82.
82.
And Stout had worked as he had done some of the art for that as well.
Budget. That was 20 million. So that was like 10 million less. Which and then Superman 3 also released around this time.
Is that like when it comes to like even with another thing about Conan too is the fact that that film was rated R, and I know that definitely cut into the box office that they wanted, because like apparently that was considered like it was a success, but it wasn't the same success that they wanted, which is why like Conan the Destroyer and the other Conan movie that came after it, both of those were a lot more family friendly and fun films in comparison to the first one, which everyone remembers.
No, yeah, absolutely. Superman 3, which was also listed, was 39 million, so like 40 million ish. So,
and with that as well, I think too, like Superman's also a more kids oriented character. Again, even if like the subject material covered isn't just super fun loving kid stuff, it's still it's going to be a lot lighter than something like Godzilla just naturally is if you want to do it justice.
Yeah, no. Giganotosaurus the King was asking, why did the earlier American Godzilla scripts have such a San Francisco setting fetish only for it to become a reality in 2014? I think it's because San Francisco is like one of the two most well-known West Coast cities that's on the Pacific.
Yeah.
It's also just one of the most like well-known cities in America.
That too, but I also think it also has like a very huge Asian population, specifically like Japanese.
Yeah, that too.
So I think that makes sense.
Then you also have the concept of the monsters interacting with like global icons, which Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Which started from the overrated Boar Fest that was It Came From Beneath the Sea.
It came from beneath the board.
It's still, which even then it came from that.
What did you say?
It came from beneath the boring.
It came from beneath the boar.
Yeah, no. Which even then, that was one of.
I don't tend to like to use that, but like that is the biggest thing with It Came From Beneath the Sea. It's fucking boring.
Why? How is this an hour and 19 minutes? This is an hour and 19 minutes. Why is half of this thing just filler? It's like,
but it's a classic.
I think it's only a classic because of the fact that it has that iconic scene. I don't think anyone who says that remembers the movie.
Which even then I will say,
Zim, like Vix defended it, Hot Potato and Joey Server defended it. I'm like, you people smell like fucking beans, dog.
When's the last I was about to say, when has Vic not defended something in the take being an L? I'm sorry. Vic defends something. Wow, the sky is blue, my man.
I guess G4.
Fair enough, because then again, this dude doesn't like Megaro Goji, so it's like shit.
Common Vic L.
Yeah, Common Vic L.
I will say he did defend stuff like Primal and also the whole like kaiju inhuman stuff thing recently.
Minecraft.
Which
the thing with Vic is he likes everything. Like respectfully, I like the guy. He likes everything.
Yeah,
That's
but
such a British insult. You smell like
even
beans.
Within case,
Oi, mate, you smell like beans.
You smell like fucking beans, mate.
Now he's all Australian.
If I may speak, please. I will say, with It Came From Beneath the Sea, that was one of the better sequences in the film. The problem is, it just came too late. It was like it's cool. It's really cool to see this stop motion creature interacting with the Golden Gate Bridge, especially someone who is currently living in San Francisco. But yeah, no, like it's the whole East Coast, it's the whole West Coast thing. I think the only other one that has been given any sort of recognition is Los Angeles.
Yeah,
because films.
I also think when you think between like California, you think either LA or San Francisco, but I think people just associate San Francisco more just generally because just because there's more iconic landmarks. I think that's just the biggest thing.
Serena, I am currently living in San Francisco. I'm going to be moving back to Utah in a week and a half. Sadly I can't get the Muto bodies. Those were taken a while ago. I can see if I can get Trespasser though.
I think what I'm also going to do for you guys both is I'm just going to send the same thing Pyro sent me, so you guys will both have access to the revised third draft stock.
Cool.
So I'll be able to follow along. He also sent
that to me.
Yeah.
What I found, like, I've voiced my on like one of Vic's stream, voiced my dislike of the design. Because I just think
I have a little like collage thing for the design, but we can get into.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's best we start with the plot, though. For those,
I think we can start from the plot and just kind of go page by page with some of it too.
You sure no one else is showing up?
I only gave the link to a few people, so I know who I gave it to, and I'm not sure if all of them are gonna come on.
Hoshi, where are you? Get on here.
But yeah, so we'll start off with at least it is technically the first part of the script, which is the anonymous Japanese 18th century quote where it says, listening through mist, distant glow of dragon's cries, a warrior waits, which I guess starting from there, it has like a similar vibe to the Arabian proverb that you see in King Kong.
Mhm.
And I wonder if that was being echoed here as well, given the fact that I would say in terms of where they're pulling from with Godzilla, it's less from anything past 54 because Decker and Stout both were not the biggest fans of like the later Godzilla stuff, primarily in Stout's case because he preferred stop motion compared to suits. So like a similar beat to Harryhausen. And I know Decker he felt they were just not as like interesting or fun or scary, and he wanted like Godzilla to be more scary in that sense. I'm not sure if Kuru, if you have thoughts on this, at least kind of being the starting point for this film.
I see that quote and I'm just, my first thing is I'm like, what is this relevant to? Like that's my thing, is I don't like, it's not super relevant, at least to like anything in the script. It feels like they wanted something that sounded like more like provocative than it actually was.
Interesting. Because I would say like
because with like King Kong, I believe it directly connects to the story. Same
What's
with Project
the
Nemesis.
okay, so this is still like a little like thing of blasphemy with me, as I still haven't seen the original 33 King Kong. What's the quote? Look, okay, it's one of those things where it's like it's one of those things where it's always at the back of my mind, but I can never get around to it because they're like, "Oh, how you have the 70s one instead." I'm like, "I don't want that one. Give me the 30s one where Willis O'Brien does the effects and I get a T-Rex that sounds like me when I have a sinus infection."
I think I saw Lau in the back and then he died. So if he comes back in, I'll bring him back on. But the Arabian proverb from King Kong is, "And lo, the beast looked upon the face of beauty, and it stayed his hand from killing, and from that day it was as one dead." Which I think ties into like the beauty killed the beast.
That is directly connected to King Kong as a character. And then for the other example that I brought up, Project Nemesis, it directly quotes the Mesomedies of Crete for Nemesis. Which
I say, like in this case, at least to stretch it, it would have to probably just do with the fact that the like what we see literally right after this is the nuclear missile that ends up awakening Godzilla, and the warrior waits is probably either referencing the main character of this film or the character who is related to the main character, I'd assume. But I think like it also kind of ties, or at least is trying to allude maybe to King Kong, but also to the like the whole legend that surrounds Godzilla that you see on Odo Island, sort of like expanding on that whole kind of
work. Probably not the quote I would have gone for. I probably would have referenced something with like yokai or even the biblical Leviathan. That would have.
I wouldn't have referenced the Leviathan. I think that like more than likely, since it is a Japanese quote, it's probably being translated and there's something being lost in translation. But I'd say for like what it is, it works fine. I think there's a lot you could do to improve on it, though.
Yeah. Also, Martin, let's be honest, San Francisco makes more sense for a setting than New York because it's a U.S. city more close to Japan and the Pacific coast where French Polynesia is located. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, why didn't Zilla go to San Francisco? Or fuck, even Honolulu would have been more interesting.
Yeah. So now we move over to what is, it takes up about 5 or 4 pages, and it's essentially the nuclear missile launch or the accidental launch, which the start of the film is kind of like a Deus Ex Machina, where an asteroid hits the satellite and it causes the missile to launch. And because of that, everyone's sort of scrambling to see whether or not the missile is going to make landfall and detonate. And ultimately it does detonate, but in the water, and it sinks all the way to the bottom, which is where you see Godzilla's hand sort of rise up from the ocean depths. And that's when you get like a Superman-esque title screen for Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Which, I'm going to be blunt, I really like this opening sequence. Like, I'm imagining it in my head as like an animatic storyboard thing, and I'm assuming we'll get to the storyboards. But
yeah, we'll look at a few.
But like, I'm just imagining this in the finished film. Given the context of 1983, I think this would look really cool. It already said, and it already works as a really strong tone setter.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I'd say it works very similarly to Godzilla 94's opening in terms of tone setting.
Yeah, like I'll actually just read some of it as well, where it says like the ocean floor, where a strange volcanic glow illuminates the uneven marine terrain, and despite the activity and debris the blast has kicked up, it is oddly calm here, quiet and serene. Then we notice a surge of bubbles and heat rising, and through the murk, we see a fissure in the ocean floor, and from the fissure, a giant reptilian claw clutches at the molten rock, pulling itself free, then grasping at the camera and then Superman titles Godzilla King of the Monsters fade to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
and what is this name? It's Lao. What is this name?
No, I was just getting creative.
What the
There's
heck?
not even a single
is that
6-7 in
name?
there. Shame on you. 6-7.
Why?
But that is like the most 2000s name. All we need is like a lowercase x, uppercase x, lowercase x in front and back of the name there.
Yeah,
No, you need an
actually, I was
XV.
considering that. I was considering it actually,
Hmm.
or just go by Lady Mas 217 or something like that. Lady's name.
Yeah. Also, my friend Rose Puppy's in the chat. Hello.
Hello.
I showed her
Say
GMK
something
and
quickly.
she had
Say
the
something unhinged.
Woman jump scare.
I showed her GMK, G2K, and G98 on Friday. She had the most emotional reactions to both Mothra and Baragon's deaths.
As you should. But I know obviously Lau just muted himself. Lau, did you get to read any of the scripts or no?
I was trying. Sorry, when I was watching the stream, I heard that you were going to go page by page or something like that.
Yeah,
Not
let me
thinking
send
about
you the link again. I did not send you the link. Let me send you the links. We're looking at the revised third draft. I'm not sure if you're able to look at that while I'm not sure if you're on
Okay.
your computer or you're on your phone.
I'm on the phone,
Okay,
but I'm
gotcha.
pretty sure it will work fine.
Fair enough. All right. So yeah, we're on page 5, which for context, for anyone who does look at this before or after, because I do have these linked in the description. The pages of the script themselves don't match what the actual document says. So page 5 in the script is page 7 in the document.
Ah,
Mhm.
Gotcha. That was confusing,
Yeah.
man.
So
yeah, and then
moving on from the ocean floor scene is, and I'm also just going to control that only because there's so much background noise there, Lau. I'm sorry. We get new. It's funny because it says Superman titles Godzilla King of the Monsters. Then we cut to essentially a newspaper where we're introduced to one of our first more important characters, which is Diana Martin.
Mhm.
It's interesting that the first attempt at an American Godzilla film and the first actual film we got both have a female reporter as a pretty important character in both stories.
It feels like
Yeah.
it was just a very common trope. It was just in like creature features was like you had if you needed to have the token girl character, you had them as
reporter,
a
assistant,
scientist.
or whatever. Because Mothra
Yeah.
did this too.
Yeah, like with they're always like a reporter, a research assistant, or like something else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At least mechanically, reporters are good characters in these types of stories because they have a reason to go out and search for information, therefore directly interact with the plot. And oftentimes they're given access to areas where like most people wouldn't be able to, but they also don't have like a super regimented like schedule like a soldier or like someone higher up in the military. And as a result, there's more freedom with where you can place them in the story.
No, yeah, and it also works as exposition. So or
that
like-
too. And
or
I
like
also
a
think
Watson
too-
character to prompt exposition.
yeah, but I think also since her name is literally Dana Martin, it probably is also a Steve Martin reference as well, because there's at least 2 characters that have Godzilla adjacent names for them.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
And it's right here,
cool.
at least in this page, that we learn about first the nuclear missile, but then also there's mysterious shipping disasters, which again mirrors the original Godzilla. But it's primarily here where the mystery kind of builds up, because the story that Dana did not want the story published exactly how it was. And essentially they combined the two events together, which we learned is because of the fact that there are two Godzillas that are ultimately causing issues until one of them ends up obviously dying.
Yeah. Which
And
prompts the other to do their thing.
yeah, exactly. But essentially her interactions with her editor goes on for a couple pages until finally it's at about page 8, page 10 in the document, where they bring one of the ships, actually ends up in the port and by one of the piers, and we get to see this Japanese ship essentially pretty beat up, where it says this is page 9 of the script. A pause. Then the bow of a charred, burned cargo ship emerges. We hear the bay lapping at it. This boat looks like it's been through hell, literally. Japanese letters decorate one side. And back to Dinah as she steps forward, curious, and that's when the Coast Guard recruit steps out of the fog in front of her, giving her and us a scare. I think, like, because of the fact that, like, Miner and Decker, like, at least Miner had gone Friday the 13th, there was at least a concerted effort to have kind of quasi horror jump scare type elements in the story, because it feels like a lot of people get jump scared often in this story.
No, yeah. I mean, it definitely carries a lot of the same essence of what 54 was, just translated stylistically into something like Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe Beast, no, Beast didn't have this. I'm thinking back to 98 as well, because you also have the sequence with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
The film I keep comparing this to is Gorgo.
No, I can see that too. I think Gorgo has a similar sequence, right?
Gorgo, well, remember there's the undersea eruption for Gorgo as well, which is similar to Godzilla here.
Yeah, that too.
And the thing is that, like, with Gorgo, there isn't, like, at least like Gorgo, baby Gorgo isn't as antagonistic, and it's really only until baby Gorgo's captured that Ogra actually comes to the surface and starts to, like, attack London.
Yeah, no. So, like, you have Beast, you have 98, and then you have Gorgo as the major comparisons, and obviously 54.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say, like, probably it's mirroring 54 more than Gorgo. I think it's really only mirroring Gorgo in the sense that there's going to be a baby monster in this movie.
Yeah. Also, I just kind of like this dialogue editing, this dialogue sequence from when they're in the editor's room. The editor makes a mimicking face at her, then sheepishly nods. The copy boy to go follow her suggestion. He does. Look, sweetie, don't call me sweetie. Look, Dana. If this gets misconstrued as exploitation, we lose readers. It's editorial
don't
policy.
You love it? Don't you love it when newspapers used to be more,
I don't know. I
honest?
I don't know. Something about that just kind of clicked.
Yeah, it has like a very back and forth, snappy American kind of dialogue to it, which I like. Like I could see this definitely coming out in the 80s.
No, yeah, absolutely. Because like it was like the first thing I thought of when I read that was Superman, which had very similar snappy dialogue. Same with Ghostbusters. So there's that.
When someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. It's still like the funniest thing from the original movie to me.
Yeah,
and I think like another thing too, at least going back to the first destroyed ship that we see here. This is the bottom of 10, top of page 11 on the script, where we also are introduced to another carryover from 54 is the presence of the trilobite. But we also get to see Godzilla's direct effect on people when it comes to radiation, because in the script, there is the dying Japanese crewmate who lurches forward from the hold behind her, and that her being Diana. His face is a scarred, hideous nightmare of radiation boils. He staggers forward, and in the script, he's literally just called Radiation Mutant and says like Gojira instead of Godzilla, which again is similar to 98. But I think like this is far more visceral than what we get in 98. I feel like, honestly, I think like it's a good thing that they did that, because it would just show like the absolute horror that
Yeah.
Godzilla has on people due to the fact that he is overtly radioactive in this movie.
In my head, I'm imagining him looking very similar to what was the mad scientist character from Tarantula, or like not the mad scientist, but like the scientist who created.
Yeah.
I'm imagining him looking very similar, albeit slightly toned down.
Mm-hmm. That or like something similar to like, since obviously Miner had worked on Friday, maybe something like giving us a pretty viscerally gory appearance.
Yeah.
Or even something kind of like maybe Jason.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
It probably would have looked like Jason did at the end of what part is that?
Part 2.
Yeah, I think it's part 2 where he like jumps out of the water.
Oh no, that's part 1. That's the first one. That's Kid Jason.
Yeah, something like that, or at the end of part 2.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, yeah, it might actually, if anything, it'd probably be a combination of those where it's like deformed, similar to part 2 Jason, but more visceral, like scarring and burns, like Kid Jason.
Yeah,
because I think like a lot of people don't seem to realize that like with
this is one of the only times I've ever seen Lao's dead.
Again,
I guess he was the one who got destroyed.
Oh no.
But it's not often. In fact, you never see it this overtly that Godzilla's radioactivity actually affects someone.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because like you get it in 54 too.
You kind of get it in 54, but it's not like deforming the person. You kind of get it in GMK with Admiral Tachibana telling Yuri, "Don't come any closer. I haven't checked how like the radiation levels on me."
Doesn't 84 also do this?
I don't remember.
No,
if I remember correct. Okay,
they talk about the sea louse being radioactive, but like the crewmates that we see dead aren't from Godzilla; they're from the shock crystals attacking them.
Oh right,
they got
never mind.
They got sucked.
They got the big suck, yeah.
Yeah, never mind. I mean, it's still a similar effect. It's not radiation, but it's like it has a similar impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this film is kind of also just makes me think of 84, also with the Cold War themes, which really quick is a setting I'm surprised Godzilla has not explored more.
The reason why I think that's the case is because generally with Japan, it was like Japan was just more peaceful. Like they were occupied by America. They bounced back from like where they were at when it came to being like at a state of zero, pun intended. And then ultimately with their imports and their economy booming the way it is, it would make sense for them to not really talk too much about the Cold War because they weren't like a major superpower
well for themselves, all things considered, in spite of being stuck between two countries who were just having a dick measuring contest with nuclear warheads.
But it's also not that too. It's also the fact that like there is the fear that nuclear Armageddon could happen again, which is what Godzilla represents. But like as the years go on and now it doesn't happen, and they're just doing well for themselves, Godzilla as a character sort of evolves because ultimately that fear just sort of goes away, and that's how Godzilla becomes more of just a cultural character rather than like a thematic allegory for something.
Yeah, which I think this.
I'll let you guys talk for a little bit. I just need to go downstairs for something.
All right, I think something that the script does well and is balance that. Like it isn't perfect, but it's definitely like. You still have a lot of that core cultural element of Godzilla directly tying him into Japanese culture, but also you still have the escalation of the threat with the nuke and misjudging and that whole thing of don't screw with something that you don't understand or else it'll come back to bite you literally in this instance. So yeah. Yeah. By the way, Kuru, Rose sent me an entire thing on the whole Patago Titan Argentinosaurus thing. She was doing a bit more research on that, and it was genuinely fascinating for her. So, yeah, she wanted
just tried to take me on my own autism.
I mean, both of you have very similar levels of autism. Once you're dedicated to something, you're going to go down that path.
You cannot stop me.
But yeah, I'll read you what she said later in voice chat.
Yeah, just send it to me later.
Yeah.
Outside of like, I've always felt like it's just an angle that I'm surprised more American movies haven't bothered trying to explore, because it just feels like prime material. Which, like, it's
Yeah.
clear, given that there were so many attempts to make an American Godzilla film at this time, that there was clearly something we were trying to do.
No,
But
like
then
even 94 connected it to the Soviets. Like, even if it was a superficial thing, you still had the opening with the Soviet submarine and all that.
But no, we got the Jay Leno iguana.
98 genuinely frustrated me in retrospect.
Don't you love it?
Yeah.
Don't you love it? This film.
I love what 98 gave us. The series Rulers of Earth, hell, the Polygon book. I actually really like that. But oh God.
Total 98 death.
Yeah. But yeah, my friend also, she sent me another text. She doesn't claim to be the biggest dinosaur expert by contrast, so maybe she missed some details. But yeah. Vic, she didn't like the fact that that Zilla had a vagina. That was like both of us had a moment to process that.
It will never not be funny.
It will never not be baffling. Why?
I think Totopoulos was trying to tell us something.
Why a vagina? It was.
I think
there you are,
Totopoulos
Rose.
was trying to tell us something.
Yeah, if she's not talking. If she's
all
not
I'm
talking
saying.
much, she's. Yeah, if she's just talking much, it's because she's doing work, some like schoolwork while listening in. So. Yeah.
But another
Some
thing
poor
that,
3D
like,
modeler had to sculpt that, by the way. Oh fuck. The placement was equally weird. It's not even it's not even between the legs, it's at the base of the tail. Just
But
God.
anyways, moving on. I guess I think the opening is very definitely is very eye-catching and strong visually, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's like, I think if there's one thing that pretty much every American Godzilla film has done almost correctly, it's tone setter. Because like G14 had a really good opening, 98's credits sequence, everything before we get to like Jamaica was well done. Or almost everything before getting to Jamaica was well done. And then 94 has just a great tone setter in the opening with the awakening in the Arctic, the village, all that. It's really well done. So yeah.
I am returned.
To be granted audience
once more.
You
my
missed the
name
discussion.
as
Zimfree.
Godfrey.
The first Zimcast Lord.
I was gonna say upon my name as Zodfrey, the first drunken lord.
Zodfree. Well, no, now I'm just imagining Godfrey with like Zod's face from Berserk. or just like, come, no, Godfrey is Horaloo. The moment he hits you with a grab, you just hear the line from Superman, come and kneel before Zod.
You missed the discussion on 98's vagina and how it's a weird decision.
Common Vic L as per usual, because I see Vic yapping in the comments.
Yeah, no, because I was talking about how me and my friend, we had a moment to like talk about the fact that 98 has a vagina and the fact that it's so weirdly placed.
Mm-hmm. But it's something lizards could maybe have, possibly. You just have to understand.
It's Godzilla.
How about you understand my balls?
Exactly.
Why?
Understand my
At
balls
least
and let it
G14
ride.
having a bulge makes sense.
Literally.
At least G14 having a bulge makes sense, and they managed to hide it.
Going
That's going to be
back
weird out
to
of context.
scripts. Literally, yeah.
What do you mean
Is that a
KOTM
necessary
and GX?
detail?
Serena, what do you mean KOTM and GXK had bad openings? What the fuck are you on?
Wait, who said what about it?
Serena's saying that GXK and Kotum have bad openings.
I'd say Kotum has a fine opening for what it is. GXK, no. Definitely GXK's opening is bad.
GVK definitely. GVK is mixed, I'd say, because it like
it's
a fine
GXK, not GVK.
Yeah, GXK.
We're off topic.
But let's go here. Let's go back to 83.
So it's essentially after we get the mutant man, which I think, just going back to the Monsterverse real quick, there was, I think, like scrapped like people who were deformed by the radiation of the mutos. So that's something that's interesting as well, is that it seems like for American Godzilla movies, there's always a desire to show the effects of radiation on people, which is good. I like that. I think that's important details to add. But you ultimately then transition out of San Francisco. Yeah, go.
It ties directly into 54 because 54 did this really well. Like directly connecting the radiation into the sequences and actually showing the after effects of what this stuff can do.
Yeah.
Unlike some other films that acknowledge the radiation and don't do anything with it.
98.
I was saying Shin Godzilla.
I think Shin.
Shin tries, but neither here nor there.
It tries. Does it succeed? No.
But yeah, you continue.
Yeah, so now we're essentially down in Mexico, where we're introduced to like our main human hero as well as our main human antagonist. So we get to see the Russian Khrushchev, who literally is just a prototype Metal Gear villain, because there's this one scene where he's got this, like, he's holding up this old Mexican guy, and it says, the figure raises one arm from the sleeve where his hand should be, juts a prosthetic metal housing, which is brought up inches from Paco's eye. Then, with a vicious click, a razor-sharp blade juts from the housing. And
didn't you compare this to Metal Gear?
I did, yeah.
What page was this?
This is page 12 on the script, 14 in the document.
Gotcha. Got it.
Yeah. And I know that Decker himself was influenced by a lot of Bond movies, which was also an influence on Kojima as well. And another reason why I compare this a lot to Metal Gear is after Khrushchev has his little funny haha adios senor and kills the guy, he then spies the Americans as well, who are closing in on the same kind of general area, and he's like, Daxton, and then like all the Russians leave, which is then we are introduced to Daxton, which is our main hero of the story, who is described with having a eye patch on his eye, which you could assume has something to do with our villain here, since he's clearly missing an arm. So tiny bit of parallel there. And from some of the storyboards, he appears very similar to like Nick Fury, or like original Nick Fury from Marvel. But
a part of me wants to also say the eye patch is a Serizawa nod.
Maybe, but I would say no, because again, Decker said that he was influenced by like Bond films, but then also
it's probably coincidental.
Yeah, it's coincidental, because
that's how you know he's tough. He wears an eye patch.
That actually in the there is a podcast that has Decker coming on and talking about this. He mentions that he's tough because he has an eye patch.
I was joking.
An influence in which Decker points to is that the eye patch is a reference to Snake Plissken, which is Kurt Russell's character, who now has come full circle to appear in a Godzilla material, which Snake Plissken, Snake is where Kojima got the name Snake from for Metal Gear. So all different influences are really meshing together around this time, specifically a lot of the spy genre and the Cold War stuff.
So, I really like the idea of a spy or Godzilla film. I just don't know if I like how this one was executed.
I mean,
I would need to here's the thing. is it's like, and this is one of like the core things, and I've been saying this for as far back as I used to be in theater. Like, I feel like you cannot judge stories like these off of their script and their script alone, because like things just might not sound good on paper that might be translated well visually, if that makes sense.
Do we know who was considered for certain roles in this film?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, because for 94, we know who would have played our protagonists, or at least who was considered to play our protagonists.
Yeah,
you kind of have an idea for how the film was even going to go.
Which
if
we
you've
can
seen
base it
Twister.
off of their merit. We can base it off of their performances.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, you can kind of get an idea
also,
for
I just
what
want
the
to shout
film
out.
would. I mean, you can kind of get a feeling for what the film would have been like, at least 94, if you've seen Twister.
Yeah, which go watch Twister. It's good. I know I get why you don't want to watch it, Kuru. It's like personal fear stuff, but for others who
No,
haven't,
I've seen it. No, it was just I saw the film before all that stuff happened.
Oh,
that was Rose Puppy talking about that, I think.
Oh, that was Rose. Got it. Never mind. But yeah, no. Yeah, to anyone who hasn't seen it, go watch it. But I also want to shout out this line. I have bad luck with helicopters. Who's in charge here? The assembled look at him dumbly. You are, sir. I like that. I like moments like that. When they're
why does that sound like a why did that sound like a skit on like Russian Badger?
Yeah, I think it does have a
100%
kind of skit to it. Yeah,
I 100% could see like Skulker or like Digi saying, "I have really bad luck with helicopters. Who's flying this?" And then Heavenly Goose or Badger himself just like, you are, dipshit.
Yeah.
I know Spyro says,
tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Russell might have been considered to play Daxton. I wonder if that's true. It might be then you could probably say that his work as Snake Plissken from Escape from New York might be that an inspiration as to how Daxton might have been played. So
I need to watch
and that could be interesting.
That could be interesting. I need to watch Escape from New York to get an idea of his role.
Escape from New York? Yeah, I wish I could.
And ultimately, you have Daxton and his team descend into the derelict submarine, which is where they recover the Dragon missiles, which aren't named in the third script. I think it's in the first one where they get that name.
What are they even meant to be? Are they like nuclear missiles or?
They seem to be some kind of like essentially just super powerful kind of missile. I forget off the top of my head if there was something special about them, but I think they're just sort of just stand-ins for like just super experimental, powerful Russian weapon that seems to be common in these types of films.
Yeah, makes sense. That was a pretty common trope.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of like classic hallmarks in this movie from like this kind of genre of film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that you have little details like they mentioned how some of the gas got into the air supply of the sub, which is why so many people in it were dead. And you'd have this sort of like walking over bodies as they're retrieving the missiles and the tape as well, which is where you get the sounds of the baby Godzilla attacking the sub itself. And ultimately what helps towards the end of the script sort of lure Godzilla out to the water.
Yeah.
But then you move from essentially them leaving, and we sort of like the camera lingers on the tape and some shots of like Godzilla attacking the sub, which you assume, and we're supposed to assume at this point, that it's the Godzilla attacking the sub, to college lecture hall where we get to meet Professor Gerald Ballinger, which I want to say I feel like the name Ballinger is probably maybe like a Professor Challenger reference, since like Lost World, although could be wrong though too.
Maybe.
But it's here where like we get a little bit of like Godzilla like exposition in terms of his origins, where he talks about like essentially like these proto forms of prehistoric life, which I'll try to read what he says. This is page 18 of the script, 19 in the document, where he says Very close, gold star. What we're actually talking about here is the study of the organic makeup of prehistoric life. And then Frat Boy's like, well, that's what I said. And he's like, hey, don't be a wise ass. Paleobiology, then, as essayed by Professor Gerald Ballinger, and I suggest you read his work, by the way. Brilliant. See, what Professor Ballinger hypothesized was a form of life resembling the dinosaurs, but which actually predated them by some 100 million years. Now, using the Big Bang as a reference point, as I'm sure many of you do, and presuming that the power it took to create our solar system was a power source in the atomic sense as we know it today, and some person says, you mean post-Hiroshima, and Ballinger says, give that man a big stuffed animal. And like at least reading through this, you can really tell that they probably would have wanted a like larger than life personality to play this character. And like dialogue wise, he is a highlight when it comes to this film, which I like. But then it's interesting that he's technically not the main character of this movie, considering that like there's a lot of emphasis placed on him, as well as he also gets with one of the characters in this movie as well. But continuing on, he says, the incredibly clever Dr. Ballinger envisioned an intermediary animal, probably of Thysanot physiognomy, say that 3 times fast, probably amphibious, with a regenerative internal life/power system. And then it says he draws a circle inside the monster's stomach and makes slash marks indicating great forces of power. And it says life/power system of an atomic or nuclear nature. And please don't fall asleep in my class, Debbie. And says thank you, which made this pre-Triassic reptilian critter impervious to the kinds of dangers and ills which befall we wimpier cardiovascular oriented life forms. There's a question. And then they say, Dr. Ballinger, I was wondering, how does this relate to cell reproduction? I mean, and then another student, like, is this going to be on the midterm? Like, this film, there's a lot of like moments in this film where there are sequences that feel like they could have been ripped from other films. Like the entire exchange here feels like something that could have been ripped from like a high school or college, like teen romance or teen drama or something like that.
Yeah.
Also, the roach is here.
Oh, there's the roach. But I like it. It's fun. It's quippy. But I think that the weird thing about this is it kind of explains what Godzilla is, but in a way it feels hyper convoluted as to like what he is.
No, like it comes across like a 50s monster film. I think
trying to make it like sound more like
technobabbly,
than it actually is, which is just like it's kind of, it's like I can see what they're saying. It's like it's a Godzilla would be a creature that is basically a living nuclear reactor from before the dinosaurs, and that's how it's been able to sustain itself.
Yeah, but it's like it's weird too, because it's like it's a creature that resembles dinosaurs, predates the dinosaurs, but it also has the ability to harness nuclear energy on its own already.
Convergent evolution, I guess.
It's like convergent evolution, but like also like being a convergently evolved extremophile that resembles dinosaurs despite predating them by like millions of years.
Yeah, I will say though, like I think on a structural standpoint, I actually do like this a lot. Like it's already engaging. It's exposition, yes, but it's engaging exposition. You already established that this character is, I guess the best comparison I could think of is Indiana Jones. I believe it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Bless you. Where you get to see Indy teaching in class, and he has a very similar upbeat demeanor, I guess. It's like he's clearly giving exposition to the students. The students are listening. You can tell he's a good teacher, and he still cares about his work.
He likes what he's doing.
Yeah, I would say like structurally, I don't have a problem with this. I think it's just sort of the explanations given.
Now I'm kind of imagining
really
this as being Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I could see it being Ford. I could see like other people playing him, but I think like in this scene, instead of like really this convoluted idea as to what Godzilla is, just explain like what radiation does to biology, explain that there are things in nature that are either able to feed off radiation or able to use radiation to fuel their natural processes. And tie it back to prehistory, you could be like, well, if we're able to see examples today, it's possible that this this adaptation could have evolved and adapted itself millions of years before then and produced other forms of life
multiple times over.
exactly. Or as like because radiation and atomic energy, because the Suno mentions post Hiroshima, be like, well, now that radiation is a more common thing in our day-to-day lives, it's possible that animals in the future could adapt to it. Like something that doesn't feel as oddly specifically referred to Godzilla as this moment is, because it runs through a similar problem I have with like Nick Totopoulos, where every single assumption he makes about Godzilla ends up being correct, and the matter is, oh, we just don't listen to Nick.
No,
and I'm like,
you're not.
That's fine.
No, 05, you're not a raptor. Sorry, I had to.
05, you're a roach. Yeah, it's a roach. Regardless, ignore the roach, and the roach will scurry off.
Yeah.
But ultimately, this ends with Dana meeting Professor Ballinger and coming to him with the trilobite. And I guess like another thing we should note too is Ballinger brings up the idea of the intermediary animal, it coming from, in this case, the Triassic rather than the Jurassic. It feels like they were trying to lift elements from King of the Monsters' original script and trying to implement it here in a way they felt was more convincing, which I like.
Just in the original movie, so it's like,
yeah, it really feels like there was not like a reverence, but at least a respect and a desire to take a lot from that first movie and put it here in a way where they were more happy with the results.
It's like, even if it's not like, I'm not like a fan of it, it's doing your due diligence, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And ultimately, like, it's funny because I know Stout was like, he did some comic art before, and both Diana's editor and Ballinger both mentioned that her story sounds like a comic book, and they ask, oh, did you write comics? Which feels like very much like a personal thing for them to add. Ultimately, she gives him the trilobite. He kind of like gives it a little once over, and then she leaves, and ultimately Ballinger's picked up by a character by the name of Charlie Honda, which is the other Godzilla adjacent named character. Which, again, there's like Honda motorcycles. It could be coincidence, but you have Dana Martin and then Charlie Honda. So I'm just wondering if there was
Honda is also for the government.
Yeah.
And then you have Martin, which is a reporter, which is what Steve Martin was, I believe, in the original film.
Exactly.
Well, not in the original film, in 56.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like it feels like there was a desire to do due diligence, which is why I respect the script so much. But I love the line where Charlie Hunt is like, Dr. Ballinger, we're with the governments. And this is like, gentlemen, you better have a good reason for interrupting some pretty serious flirting.
That is a pretty good that is a pretty good way to end a scene. Like,
I think in terms of like how it balances its humor, it's like it knows when to be funny and like what scenes where levity is appropriate versus what scenes that aren't.
No, like it does an effective job with the horror, but it tonally it feels a lot like Ghostbusters mixed with like Indiana Jones and shit like that. It has a lot of that horror element, but it balances it well with the lighthearted comedy and genuinely interesting characters. Genuinely interesting, if basic characters.
Yeah. But were you gonna say something?
No. Oh, no. Okay. I'm just currently doing some stuff in the background.
No, you're good. We now cut to the South Pacific on what they refer to as Odo Island, which is spelled OTO instead of ODO. I think like it's supposed to be Odo Island, and I know that there are certain times where when Odo Island is translated, it comes out as Oto Island instead of Odo Island. I remember back when we didn't know what the second Godzilla figure was before we knew that it was like the pre-mutated Godzilla. Some of the titles are translated to Oto Island instead of Odo Island. So I think that in this case, they decided to go with Oto Island instead of Odo Island in this movie, which is interesting because how Raymond Burr says it in 56, it sounds like Odo Island instead of Odo Island. It's a small detail, take it or leave it. But what is notable is right after this, they say The troops trudge through the water hole. The children watch them with wonder. We boom up to reveal the mud pool is a massive reptilian footprint filled with dirty rainwater. So at this point, you have American special forces landing on this island, which they say is a Tahitian village. And another interesting detail about that as well is you have this pan up to the massive reptilian footprint. This is a Tahitian village, and Tahitian is a language usually spoken by people in French Polynesia, which I feel is probably just tying back to like the islands where nuclear tests were being built, like being tested and stuff. Obviously, we get that with French Polynesia later on in '98, but yeah, it's so interesting how many of these small details end up kind of being mirrored in '98. And granted, I'd say like the reveal for the footprint is a good scene in '98 on its own, and it's replicated here in a pretty good way as well. However, it's right after this where you have you see not just the footprint, but also more destruction of the village itself, which is kind of mirroring Godzilla coming ashore on Odo Island in 56 as well, although this is in the daytime. And we have a more visceral end to this as you hear like people screaming, Godzilla's roar, and then the blast of the atomic breath, and a lot of people dying. Like, I know they said they didn't want to spend like 30 million on a kids movie, but there are a lot of scenes that have been probably really, really graphic. We obviously have the radiation mutant scene earlier on, but then this, you have like a tracking shot of like these soldiers being burned alive.
No, yeah. Because like, I think kids films at this point, I think Ghostbusters has visceral moments, right?
Yeah, but not as visceral as this, though.
Yeah, this is different. This is a different kind of visceral. This is like 50s monster movies kind of visceral, which Godzilla. But like, I'd imagine had this happened, it probably would have been toned down.
Well, I bet like they probably wouldn't have wanted it to be. They probably would have wanted it to be more visceral, but then they probably want to tone it down if they were like, oh, let's actually do it. But they'd be like, well, you're gonna have to make it like a kids movie or really tone it down for kids to watch it. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But we get another interspersed cut where you have Godzilla attacking essentially Odo Island to then a giant lizard, quote unquote, toppling down buildings, which actually is a middle school classroom with one of our characters, Kevin's lizard, destroying another character, Beth's little model city, which getting into Kevin as a character, like, I know like a lot of people have issues with kid characters in monster movies. I think Kevin really toes the line because he's not overtly annoying, but then he's also very competent for his age. So he feels almost like a Goonies character, kind of.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, already this establishes him as a bit of a troublemaker. Because like he's actively going out of his way to ruin someone else's work.
But like I guess like not like a malicious sense. It's more just like just letting his lizard do things instead of being like, oh, I don't like this person, I'm gonna do something overtly to upset them. Because then you have what's it called? Kevin's bullies Todd and Scott, which if you go to page 23, had this movie been made and all the dialogue stayed exactly the same, I know for a fact people would have tried to cancel this movie.
I just saw the line.
Yeah, and for context, that line is said several times throughout this script. So I like
only the 80s.
Yeah,
only the
like,
80s.
Yeah, like pages 23, 24, 25, 36, 47, and 83. I think that line said.
Let's just say they call a lot of people bundles of sticks.
Yeah.
If you know the euphemism.
If you know the euphemism, yeah. I do not want my channel demonetized. YouTube, do not smack my nuts.
God.
But yeah, it like at least in this scene here, you have a lot of 80s kid tropes where you have like the kind of not awkward kid, but the kid with like special interests who's like kind of bullied, and then you have like a female student who doesn't really have an interest in him at first, and then she'll kind of grow to like respect and like him a little bit more, but she's like a nothing character because she doesn't really appear again after the one scene that she appears in. But like this, like when we talk about this tonally, at first you have like all the spy stuff, which really feels like a Bond movie. Then you have the scenes with Ballinger that feels like a teen, like college romance type of movie with like its classroom scenes. And then here really feels like one of those like 80s kids movies, which I guess it is probably the inclusion of Kevin that made the executives probably decide that this is going to be a children's movie because there's going to be a prominent kid character.
Yeah. Also, Nico says, "I'm sorry when you said Kevin, my brain immediately went to Kevin McAllister."
There's something I will say about that probably towards the end of it, but I would not be surprised that people tried to tie Kevin McAllister to this movie had it been made.
Oh yeah, without question.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like only the 80s could you get away with calling someone a bundle of sticks.
Yeah. But after Kevin's picked up from school with his father, you get a little bit of talking between the two where Kevin kind of like wants to be an adult, doesn't feel like he's able to really see things and like be a man, even though he's like a kid. Like they say junior high, so that's middle school. So like he could be like in 8th grade or like 6th grade, between like that range of like that, between that age range.
In my head, I'm imagining 7th grade. I think.
Like
that's.
I know some people have criticized this script for making Kevin seem too old for his age, but I'd say like seeing how like people in that age range do interact, obviously like it's a little different now versus then, but kids tend to act like this. I'm not surprised that
like
Kevin wants his independence, not realizing like what that actually all entails.
It's like you're in your preteen, teen years by this point. It's like, yeah, of course you're gonna be acting like this. Plus, it's the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Like kids back in the 80s, I believe, were given significantly more and more freedom question mark than nowadays.
Yeah,
I think.
Or maybe less, like more freedom and
more or less. I need to look into that, but it's like the kids nowadays act like this, and kids in the 80s definitely acted like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom and dad can both attest that, even though neither of them are American, they both acted and knew people who did act very similarly to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, Rose Puppy says, I love how it was the 80s is an explanation for so much. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But after we get this interaction with Kevin and his dad, Charlie, the character who picked up Dr. Ballinger, comes to pick up Daxton. And you have a lot of fake outs in this script. Like you had the fake out with Dana being scared by one of the security guards before the mutant shows up. Then you have him with Daxton, like knowing someone's kind of crawling around his boathouse. And ultimately Charlie's the one who ends up appearing, which also ties into something later on in the script. And it's here where you get to see Charlie essentially recruit Daxton, and Kevin finally gets like a little bit of like freedom or like adventure that he's looking for. So they all head down to Mexico, and Kevin's there along for the ride as well, being all happy-go-lucky. But it's here too where we also get to see another big thing where I know in earlier scripts, I think Kevin's mom is alive, where in this one here, you don't really know what happened to his mom, but one of the lines that Kevin says, his mom would let me go, where Daxton's like, you're not going to Mexico with me. And it says to Daxton, the words are like a punch in the gut, and everybody in the room knows it. Kevin storms out while Charlie Honda watches Daxton sympathetically. Daxton looks towards a framed photo on his desk, a beautiful woman in her early to mid 30s. Her lovely smile belies a certain sadness. This is Leslie Ann Daxton, or was. But yeah, now we're in Baja. Now we have Major Ackerman, who's a character who's more prominent in the earlier scripts by comparison. Ballinger's here, and we also get General Heller, who's another character that has some interactions with Daxton later on towards like the bigger set pieces involving Godzilla, which I feel like are kind of a bit unnecessary. But it's here we see on the beach, lying on its side in a fetal position, is a dead reptilian creature roughly the size of a house. Jeeps are parked all around it, and government scientists and personnel place its edges marveling and calling measurements to each other. It has a vaguely infant-like quality, gnarled and stubby claws, its forearms crossed in the traditional death pose, a short, wide tail that curves inwards, tapering to a point, odd bumpy ridges lining its spine, and dead yellow eyes rolled up into their sockets. There's something pathetic about the giant beast's mummy-like corpse, seaweed hanging from its mouth, its armored-like skin baking in the sun, out of its element, in a place in age it doesn't belong. And so it's here we see a dead Godzilla, which I think like it's supposed to like freak out the audience or like Godzilla fans being like, oh, they already killed off Godzilla, like what's going on? But I think like most people would probably understand if you're showing a dead Godzilla this early in the movie that we know there's another one out there.
Yeah, it's still like I'd still say it's effective. It's like because that adds to the mystery of then what was that at the opening? Did they kill it? Or was that something else? Because, like, I'd imagine if the infant has different claws and that's made obvious, then that could work.
Yeah, it could work. I just know that like anytime there's a movie where you know for like probably a pretty good idea that there's not going to be a monster fight of some kind, that any dead monster means there's just another one of the same type. And there's not going to be like a like you just know you'll get that fake out.
Yeah, because like with Gorgo, it's effective because the child still lives. So like you'd expect the story to be the child eventually breaks out and goes on a rampage or something, but then you have the sequence that introduces the mother, and you're just like, oh,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
even worse. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think like at least in the case of Godzilla 2, where it's like you always kind of know there's always generally just one Godzilla. So I guess it could work since you know like they're gonna have to have their Godzilla destruction sequence. So everything's like there's gonna be a good reason as to what's going on here. But it's on page 32 of the script where they talk about, oh, it's a dinosaur, and Ballinger's like, it's not a dinosaur. The army scientist says it's not, and Ballinger says no. The term is protosaur. You can look it up. Smithsonian Magazine, June 78. Dr. Gerald Ballinger, UCLA. And the army scientist says, Ballinger, the guy that was thrown out of the ASP conference for being a fruitcake. And Ballinger grins humbly as though this is the honor for him.
I like that.
Yeah. And then the army scientist goes on to say, well, of course, a protosaur for the beginning of time. How stupid of me. And Ballinger's response is, where do you think it came from? Cleveland? I think this is a notable line about Cleveland because I know like that monster kaiju parody movie, It Ate Cleveland, was being developed around the same time.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was like a nod to it.
Yeah. No, like that. I'd believe that. And even then, it's just funny. It was like, isn't Cleveland the punchline of many jokes?
Yeah, Cleveland and Detroit.
I don't know why Cleveland.
It's Ohio.
Yeah, it's Ohio. There's nothing in
Ohio. That was before that joke came out, though. That was before.
No, Ohio's always just been like that. Now people are just more blatant about it. It's the same thing as like nothing's in Indiana.
Yeah.
And then what's like, oh yeah, this line too is funny because like it technically references the 94 scripts, where it's like Ballinger's like well, first they also want to cover up the existence of the baby Godzilla, which details wise, it's you see something similar in 54, but context it's very different. But this line here is so funny where it says, Ballinger's like, all right, pal, you're such an expert. I'm the dope. Let's hear your theory, and reference as to what the army scientist thinks this baby Godzilla says. And he's like, my real opinion, Ballinger, no lie, have fun, make something up. Army scientist, all right, judging from the epithelial resilience, the lack of deterioration in the eyes, I think we can agree it died only recently. I don't think we should discount the possibility that this creature is a life from another planet. Ballinger, from space. It's from space. Who is this guy? Are you guys living in the 50s? Am I missing something? It's so funny that the first American Godzilla movie also like references something coming from space, and then obviously, you have the ancient civilization building Godzilla in the 94 script and the Griffin coming from space.
No, that is a perfect nod. And then obviously prior to this point, you had stuff like King Ghidorah, Gigan, and everything like that.
Kinky Dora.
Genki Dora.
Kinky Dora.
But
God.
yeah, no, it's like you can really tell that Decker had a lot of fun writing Ballinger's lines because he really dominates a lot of his scenery that he appears
he's
in.
already the most enjoyable character here, and that's saying something because I don't know, I'm already getting something out of all of these.
Exactly, yeah.
Pretty much all of them.
And now we move over to essentially General Heller being like, you got to be cooperative, don't be a douchebag, blah, blah, blah. And we then see Kevin sort of looking at the baby Godzilla towards the end of the night as they're kind of airlifting it and getting it ready for transport. And him and Ballinger sort of have this back and forth. And he talks about essentially like another part of Godzilla's legend where he says, my dad was a colonel, used to live in Japan. He told me about a legend once, old Japanese legend. See, the fishermen of Kimishima used to speak of this great monster that rose from a volcano, a monster the size of a mountain. They called him Godzilla, king of the dragons, the monster god. And then Kevin says, dragon, could he breathe fire? And then Ballinger, who takes like a swig of drink, says, not anymore, he can't. Which I guess is foreshadowing to the fact that we know for like a fact that we've seen Godzilla, the adult one, breathe fire on Odo Island, and we now know this is dead. So like it works as a line too, but it's also interesting that they mention in the legend that Godzilla appeared out of a volcano, which could be a reference to the volcano monsters, or at least it seems to be the case that whenever like Americans from the time were adapting these movies, volcanoes, and like a lot of similar theming seem to permeate these movies.
I could see it also being a nod to Rodan.
Maybe. Because Stout did want to make a Rodan movie as well. Yeah, which there's something Rodan related in this script, which would have complicated things had they made this movie concerning Rodan, but we'll get to that later.
I might try to work something out, like a hypothetical Godzilla 83 trilogy, similar to what you're doing with Stan Winston, Kuru.
Nope. I already got this one. I'm doing an 83 trilogy.
Fuck you.
No.
I've got the.
If you want to ride.
Oh wait, no. Wait, no. That's Mrs. M's job. Never mind.
Exactly. Hoorah!
I've got both the Stan Winston hypothetical trilogy in my head and also my Polygon rewrite.
Yeah.
But I think now
making those movies not a complete embarrassment.
But I think now, since we've already got the big reveal all the way where the baby Godzilla is dead, and I think at this point audience members would probably know that there's another Godzilla out there. You start to see more Godzilla set pieces because the next sequence, which is 35, and it carries on for several pages. You have this oil derrick, which is attacked by Godzilla. We have a few comedic interactions between a younger and older guard posted here, and you have Godzilla rising up from the water and then attacking the oil derrick. Although this is funny because the young guard is has this big stereo system that the old guard takes issue with, and he says the old guard kind of takes away the big old stereo, and the guy's like, "Don't man, that's $100 machine." The old guy throws it over the side, a distant splash. He turns, grinning gleefully. Old derrick guard, how do you think we won the war anyways? Listening to Negro music? I'm just, when I read that the first time, I was so surprised.
Only the 80s.
Exactly. Only another reason.
I'm just imagining
this movie could have only existed in the 80s for better and for others.
For better or for based. I'm
just imagining this gets repackaged with the 94 script as a novelization or something for similar to what Godzilla 54 rates again.
Oh, you cut out there.
Mothra had with afterwards. I'm just imagining the backlash.
If the movie came out, it'd be the problematic history of Godzilla 1983. Like I could see it. I could really see it.
Don't. I know you are salivating at the potential content. Stop it now.
Well, Kuru, it's not even me salivating. It is.
No, it's not even if this film. It's not
it's
even
even
if
worse
this
You
than
film.
that,
want it for
Minecraft.
content.
No. But think about it. Listen. It's not me salivating. Listen. It's the alternate universe Zim who doesn't need to salivate because the movie came out in alternate Zim's history. So therefore, he's already making content on it.
I'm just imagining Sama Lama did the video. If he does it's not Raids again. It's Godzilla 83 without question. And even then, it's the 80s.
Or you get like something. It's like something productive.
Oh
yeah.
No. But even what I was saying is if this script and 94 both got packaged together in like a novelization format, just the script as is, but like as readable books with afterwards, and all that, similar to what Raids Again 54 and Mothra had, people would probably throw a hissy fit.
Oh yeah.
Without question. More content.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It gets us content for the slop train.
More slop for the slop train. Chugga chugga choo choo, boy. Yeah, so like this sequence with the oil derrick and Godzilla carries on for several pages, and we do get a few interesting bits where like some of the oil leaks out and someone takes a lighter and throws it, causing some of the oil to ignite on Godzilla, who has like a small little reaction to it, but he ends up just like crushing the two characters that we follow here and destroy the derrick, which ends up drawing the attention of the newspapers and Dinah in particular, along with her friend Judy, who, yeah, as a character, like Dana and Judy's relationship is very similar to Lucy and Elsie's relationship. Although, I guess even though I'm not sure, like you guys didn't really read the script all the way through, comparing Dana to Elsie, I'm not sure if you guys have thoughts about it.
I can see
Elsie
it
from the 98 show?
Yeah. No, not Elsie, Audrey. My bad. Audrey and Dana.
No, yeah, I can see it. Like, that was the first comparison that came to mind. And it was the reporter thing. Because, like, Dana already has a lot of very similar attributes to Audrey. That, like, scooping thing. And then I'm reading through this right now. You already have this strong back and forth with, like, the hey, no scary monsters. Trust me. Dana recovers. That was a joke, by the way. Lighten up. Judy, something very weird is going on off the coast. Off the coast? When was the last time you went to the North Beach?
Yeah. Like, I also feel like Dana's just more like Audrey after like her whole go-getter comment that Lucy gives her, where she's more proactive. She doesn't really have like the whole dynamic with like a boss in the same way that Audrey has with Cayman. I think it just allows her to be a more dynamic character in terms of what she contributes to the plot. But I'd also say too, she just generally doesn't screw over people that she shouldn't, and that the audience like sympathizes with. Yeah, exactly.
She's not a bitch. Horrible person.
Yeah, like she does like lie and stuff to people. So in order to get on the Japanese ship at the beginning of it, she like roughs up her makeup and like her skirt and stuff, and says like, "Oh, someone stole my purse. He went that way." And as the guy runs off, she's like, "Ha, sucker," and then gets on the boat and stuff. But it's like it's for someone that like the audience doesn't know, and she also doesn't have a personal connection to, that would make her actions seem way worse.
Yeah, I think it's also, I mean, Lois Lane did this. Like did something similar to that a few times in the Superman films. So it's not out of the question. It's not. She's not actively screwing over people. She's just trying to get the scoop.
And then as after they have their interaction, we cut back to Ballinger, but now in his apartment, and we have a back and forth between Ballinger and Dana. And we also learn more about the fact that she mentions how the Japanese sailor ended up dying, talking about the stuff down in Mexico. Ballinger connects the dots, realizes that those were radiation burns, not just any old burns, and then talks about the trilobite and now they're kind of piecing everything together about how just naturally radioactive these creatures are. And because the sailor had said the name Gojira, which Dana says, and this is page 42, Godzilla, which is interesting. You'd think that like when they were coming up with the name Godzilla, they would have just said Godzilla instead of Godzilla, but neither here nor there. And after her saying the name, that's when he ends up going to the facility where the baby Godzilla is located. Which then we cut back to like what's going on with the Russians. And I would say like at this point, we're probably like halfway through the second act of the movie. And we haven't heard about the Russians like at all since they were first introduced and Khrushchev kills Paco at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, you'd expect a little bit more involvement from them. Like they were the ones to kill baby Godzilla and et cetera, or like actively hunting Godzilla throughout.
They are the most like action-packed part of the movie, but they feel really superficial. And I think it's because they are a bit like just kind of stereotypical evil Russians, which Decker just kind of admits.
I wish they were used a lot more. They feel the entire film could have existed without them.
Yeah.
Like if anything, replace the Russians with just like covert American weapons testing and very little of the movie changes.
Yeah.
Like King of Slop says, the evil Russians. Like I'm fine with the evil Russians. It's a fun trope to use.
Yeah, and especially like, since it's the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like you can get away with it.
Trust me, now you could still probably get away with it. I think a lot of people would probably be fine with seeing the evil Russians in a modern movie like this.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Exactly.
Which I want to see that. I'm totally fine with it. But yeah, they feel underutilized. Like that's, yeah. By the way, this was about where I got to when I stopped reading it. Like when I got distracted.
So you're a bit more blind. Gotcha.
Yeah, so like after this, I'm a little bit more blind. I know basic outlines, but not much else.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just be reading along while you go through it.
Gotcha. So we're just going to skim through kind of page 44 from the script where you have Wexel 7, who's just sort of going about off their route. It's just essentially just another boat attack that we get for Godzilla. And it's fun. It's nice. I sort of like how they show this attack. It's kind of similar to the 54 opening attack and how it's portrayed, because like you have the radio operator and us we're seeing the flash of light, the sea boiling, all of that for Godzilla showing off. And then we cut back now to a mall sequence with Kevin, who's back in the States, kind of playing a game called Monster Target, where you're essentially firing these smart bombs into the monster's mouth, which foreshadows what happens later on in the scripts. The little kid character Beth returns, so those two have a little conversation. They kind of reconnect. They have like a little fun kid, will they, won't they, and like not like in a weird way. It's very like very sweet, like in a young love kind of sense. And then Scott, one of the bullies, comes back, and this is where I think like Kevin gets one of his like essentially superpowers. So Decker himself was really interested in things like magic, escape artistry, things like that. So he gives this interest of his to Kevin. And how the scene plays out is that Scott's dad's a police officer, so he somehow gets his dad's cuffs, handcuffs Kevin, and then tries to see if Kevin's actually going to be able to get out of the handcuffs, which he ends up doing and is all successful about it. We also get on page 47, another bundle of 6 comments. And essentially Kevin gets out of the handcuffs, takes like this thing of ice cream and then splatters it on the bully's like chest and then runs off. And like, for example, we have like essentially like a young kid sort of like antics movie. You have the spy stuff, and then you have the stuff with Ballinger. The Ballinger thing feels the most like a Godzilla movie. The spy stuff feels really tangential to the plot, almost like unnecessary. And then the kid stuff, which again, tonally just feels really out of place. And I feel like it's only really there because Kevin's a character in this movie. And like if you remove Kevin from the movie, like a lot of this scene time could have been dedicated to something more relevant, I feel like, to the plot.
Yeah.
Like I understand
No,
this is building Kevin's character, but I think given what he does in the movie and like how relevant he is to the themes, like I think he should have been rewritten or just removed entirely.
Yeah, I'm already seeing the cracks in this right here. Because like I don't think the spy stuff inherently is a bad thing. I mean, Ghidorah the three-headed monster got away with it, but that's because it was directly connected to the plot.
Yeah, it was like the spy stuff in Ghidorah was directly related to the princess and what was going on with her and the Martians.
That's my thing here. Is it feels like you got 3 very different movies that have been like squished into this one.
Mhm.
I really think Ballinger should have been the main character of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not impossible. It's not impossible to balance this whole stuff. It's just this script doesn't really do the greatest job. The cracks are already forming. Also,
I would argue the kid stuff is like even separate from kid character annoying, which I don't believe. But like it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to exist at all.
Yeah.
Like it's like the scenes are written well. It's just like why are they here?
Yeah, that's the thing with them. It's like they're written well enough. They're written fine enough for what it is at the time. But that's the thing is it doesn't need to be here. And I would argue the same thing is true for the dragon missiles. They're just there to kind of facilitate the evil Russians doing evil Russian things. If the
plot was directly connected, like the Russian dragon missile was what awoke Godzilla or something.
I would have said is that they are actually nuclear warheads and Godzilla is after them for food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On top of the whole I'm pissed because my child was dead. Also for the evil Russians thing, Rose Puppy brought up Primitive War as an example of this being popular in the modern day.
Or they could have had, like, if you wanted to have Godzilla be like sympathetic or something. I don't know. I'm just like thinking of like this is that the climax is them trying to like it involves like Godzilla going directly after the Russians because it realizes that the Russians were responsible for the death of its baby. So you get something like the climax of Primitive War, and then it ends with like the Russians, like a Russian base or something going up in smoke, and we think, oh, Godzilla's dead. It's psych, he's not.
Yeah. Or at least like if anything, like have the Russians dragon missiles be something besides nuclear weapons. So it's like similar to how we have the oxygen destroyer in 54, the dragon missiles are an escalation in like global tensions and global conflicts, and Godzilla playing a role in that thematically.
No, like that's
like
what
the old, like the avatar of like the old weapons going up against like the new ones in a way.
Yeah, which you get a little bit of that in like 84 itself too, which I'm going to be talking about in my one monstrous moment. And there's a similar sequence in this as well, which it's interesting how many other films seem to pluck like details from this script, probably unintentionally though.
No, yeah. It's like, I mean, Godzilla himself draws a lot from 50s from contemporary monster films of the time.
Yeah.
So like it's not unintentional. It's not like unheard of.
Yeah. But going to page 48 in the script, 50 on the document, you get to see essentially the vacuum sealed lab area where they're studying the baby Godzilla's corpse. And I like this detail where some of the lab assistants are like suffering from fatigue or like other symptoms. And Ballinger immediately takes control of the situation, asks someone else to check their blood, asks for a Geiger counter, seals himself up, and then immediately goes inside with the baby Godzilla's body. And you have the shot where the Geiger counter just like goes absolutely berserk because of how radioactive the baby Godzilla is.
I like this.
Yeah, like this scene I think works really well. I just think it's because of where it's sandwiched, because it comes right after the Kevin scene. It feels like you're just jumping between so many plots. Like we should have been continuing to focus on what Ballinger was doing, like having him like leave his apartment with Dana and then come here directly would have been better, or like develop what's going on with Daxton more, because we haven't heard from him in some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like another detail I like too is the fact that Ballinger asks Dana if she still has a trilobite, which she does, and then he tells her to drop it. Like there's a big emphasis on the fact that radiation isn't a joke, and they treat it with the level of danger that it actually has, which is refreshing because you don't really see that in a whole lot of other Godzilla movies that had come out at the time when this movie was being developed.
You don't even see it much now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
It's
you see a little of it in
I don't
2014.
need it because in my head it's like, oh, it could like, oh, we can tell it's radioactive, but it's never like you don't know how bad it is. For all you know, it's like it's detectable, but it's not lethal, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It works in my head.
Yeah, well,
But-
for me, I prefer when Godzilla is more radioactive because there's that really strong scene in 54 where the mother is dead and you see them like scanning her body and the like Geiger counter's going absolutely
No,
nuts.
to me, it really depends on what kind of Godzilla movie you're making. If you're doing something more like early 60s and stuff like that, something akin to early Showa, I don't think it's the most necessary thing in the world. But if you're doing something like 54, or something like 84, or something that takes itself a lot more seriously, then it is worth doing.
yeah.
It's
Just
just
like
it's
just
not
like-
a hard rule to me that like if you're close to Godzilla, oh, you're gonna get super cancer. But it's like
even
it's a very case by case basis.
Even Shin briefly touched on the radioactive part. Same with -1. Like neither of those films were overt in the radiation, but it still acknowledged the fact of this stuff is dangerous and it actively had an effect on the plot.
Yeah,
like
It's just one of those. But yeah, for me, it's like this is a very case by case. This is one of those aspects of Godzilla that I consider very case by case basis.
Yeah, but
like one detail I like as well. No, true. And again, Ballinger is more of a main character again.
Sorry, we're still kind of talking over each other, latency and all that. Because you said Zim, yeah, true. And I was like, what did Minecraft say?
About how it like works on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
But
gotcha.
Ballinger once again is just acting more like the main character because there's like a scene here. This is page 52 in the document where there's the Russian ambassador talking with a US diplomat and Ballinger just barges in and the US diplomat's like, what's the meaning of this? I'll have the Secretary of State on the line. And Ballinger's like, good, he should hear this. Why didn't anyone tell me there was a nuclear missile that killed that thing? And then General Heller is like, frankly, Ballinger, the missiles aren't your concern. Ballinger, when my people are fainting from exposure to radiation, you better believe they're my concern. And it's really funny because Daxton's in this scene and he's like, what are you talking about? And he really like, despite being like the main action hero, he just doesn't have like a whole lot of screen presence or like what he contributes is very minimal. Like I feel like Decker didn't know what to do with him if he wasn't in an action sequence because Daxton takes over the further we get into the script. But like here, I just feel like he's kind of just languishing because his interactions just aren't substantive enough.
I think
like,
if you
there's
hybridize,
something that you can do, like, because it's clear he's like, because it's clear that like, I'm trying to think of like ways you could make that work. Is how like someone like that doesn't have much of a life left after they've, clearly like been through some shit. Now like that's kind of the only life they have is fighting and all that, but like that's not what this film was even doing.
Yeah, like honestly, like one major change I feel like would have helped this out immensely is if Daxton and Ballinger knew each other beforehand. Like they could have been like either high school friends or like Ballinger had been in the military and then got out of the military because he said that his father was a colonel. So it could have been a case where if depending on the age difference that Daxton had met Ballinger when he was younger and was serving under Ballinger's father, something that would connect the two together so that the two of them can bounce more off each other. Because, for example, with page 51 in the script, it's Ballinger's like, it's been brought to my attention that a prehistoric trilobite was found intact on a cargo ship that was fried out of the ocean on its way from Japan. The only survivor didn't last long, and he probably died of radiation exposure. Daxton, what are you saying? That creature's dead. Ballinger, a creature is dead from a nuclear missile fired almost a week ago off Mexico. Daxton, what's your point? Ballinger, my point is that if it was killed last week off Mexico, how could it attack a boat 700 miles away at the same time? That doesn't make much sense, does it? In addition to which I find out some oil derrick off Monterey, for God's sake, was barbecued last night, and the Coast Guard doesn't have a clue. Like, Daxton is sort of just responding to what Ballinger's saying, and I feel like his intelligence is kind of undermined despite his rank. Like, he should just realize the fact, given the timeline of events, he should be considering this and be able to come to the conclusion himself, so he actually feels like he's contributing to this sequence instead of Ballinger taking up the whole sequence, which, if he was the main character, I'd say works better.
No, like, I think combine Ballinger and Daxton. Just do that.
You could combine them or still have them be separate characters. Just
actually, no, yeah, keep them as separate characters. Just Ballinger, make him the protagonist. For the love of God, just make this man the protagonist. He's already the most likable character in the script, and he already serves the biggest purpose.
Like, I like Daxton's character, like his archetype, but like he just doesn't do a whole lot. Like, I know, like, because I compared to Snake Plissken. Snake is the main character of Escape from New York, and he has like the most important lines. So yeah, now they just kind of go on for a little bit about like, well, if the baby's dead and this happened at this time, there's no way that this could be the thing that did that. And essentially, yeah, then there's a line where Daxton's like, this is page 52. All right, wait a minute. Let me see if I'm following you. You're telling us that you think there's another one. Then an atomic powered monster from the beginning of time, this one probably, 400 feet tall, is alive and moving up the coast from California towards this city, right exactly in our kitchen. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like the moment when I read this line the first time, I just heard it in the superintendent's voice.
No, I can see it. I admit it is the single stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But that's what you're telling us. That's exactly what I'm telling you.
And then we also have and then we get another Godzilla sequence here with a couple of Wingjammers where they're just sort of just chilling, having fun on a boat. One of them falls off, asks for like a life preserver, and then Godzilla appears from behind them. And this is like one of the first times we get his yeah, gotcha. One of his colors where they mentioned Godzilla's like a black and green mask. It could just be for the fact that he's dark in the water. But that's an interesting detail. And I also want to note before I forget, Daxton mentions Godzilla is probably over 400 feet tall. It's another reference to 56 and like what they say about Godzilla in the diet building scene, which is dubbed over.
So 400 feet is
it's like 109 100. Yeah, so about 120 meters.
That is a jump. That is one hell of a jump.
That'd have been the biggest Godzilla for some time because Toho may not have given Godzilla 84 a bigger height than that.
Third biggest, second if we're counting screen incarnations, because Hanna-Barbera is 300 meters if we're going by the title literally, by the song literally, and then Marvel is 500 if I'm remembering correctly.
Is he? The common estimates are about 150 to 184 meters
for Marvel.
For Marvel.
Okay.
Then Hanna-Barbera Godzilla is some cite it as 400 feet exactly, and some say 300 meters.
Yeah, Hanna-Barbera is very different. Marvel, from what I'm seeing, Marvel jumps a lot because you have the sequence on the bridge where he's 500 meters. That's the large one. That's the larger estimates, but I think on average, high end 184. So that's still the second biggest take on the character up to this point.
Yeah, but like even for like just screen interpretations, this would be the biggest Godzilla for some time.
Yeah.
It's also interesting too, like how with all of the American Godzillas, they made them all like just really big. And I think like it's good because it keeps them kind of in continuity size wise with the landmarks they're appearing beside. And what's interesting too is that at least in issue 23, after Godzilla returns to his full size, they indicate that Godzilla's full height is at just 200 feet, so he's 61 meters. So I'd say like since that's what they state in the actual comic, I'd say 200 feet is probably his actual size in the comics normally.
Yeah, so 61 meters. So Hanna-Barbera, I think, is still outclassing him up to this point.
Yeah.
'Cause-
No, because some like most things stays about 400 feet. Yeah. Though officially standing at 400 feet or about 122 meters, the Godzilla theme song suggests him to instead be 30 stories high at a standard definition of 4.3 meters per story. So actually make him about 129 meters, 423 feet tall if taken literally. So, but then also because you have Godzilla attack the Golden Gate Bridge, but he like essentially rises up right from below it, similar to like what 2014 kind of does. And given how tall he's shown in like some of the like drawings that Stout did, I think that like if you took those shots literally, he would be bigger than Hanna-Barbera as well.
Yeah, I think Hanna-Barbera was sized next to the Golden Gate Bridge.
He is, yeah.
Because he did visit San Francisco in the Earth Eater episode.
Exactly, yeah.
So, shit, this is actually going to be a bit of a rabbit hole I need to go down because I know Gareth is known for the mass shifting. I think 98 is the most consistent size-wise, which is bizarre to me.
No, I'm not surprised by that because, like, at least in the case of like 98, because even though like size does matter, and then he ends up being smaller than the last Godzilla that appeared. At that size, you kind of generally know like how big everything around you is going to be instead of trying to make your characters as big as everything else.
Yeah, and obviously it's San Francisco. You're gonna have to adjust. Because the Golden Gate Bridge is fucking massive.
Well, it's not the fact that the bridge is massive; it's the fact that the water beneath it is deep.
No, yeah.
So like, even if you're big, if you're not big enough to where you're above the water, you're gonna look small.
No, yeah. Which I believe people estimated was Gareth during 2014 during the bridge scene. That was about 500, 600 ish. From estimates that I've seen.
Well, because the water underneath the Golden Gate Bridge is like 115 meters on its own in depth.
Yeah. So
you already have to clear like a lot of water already to get to like just hitting like below the bridge itself.
Which based on Gada's height during that scene, he's about like the water is up to his calves.
Yeah, like he chews through it like to the point where like you wouldn't think like very little would actually be able to get through underneath the bridge if the water is as deep as it's shown in 2014.
Yeah.
But that's just what happens when you're trying to do logistics in the real world.
I mean, it's a cool shot, but yeah,
it's like you got to sacrifice some things for the shots.
It's one of those things where it's like, oh, like it's who cares? It looks awesome. It's sometimes the rule of cool wins out.
I think it's like when you have to break it in a way where it has to be a detail that's innocuous that not a lot of people would think about, because I don't think anyone would realize just how deep that specific point of water is underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
No, yeah, people really underestimate the Golden Gate Bridge and the San Francisco Bay in terms of its depth.
Yeah, but that specific area is, I think, like it's exceptionally deep, and it's like one of the deepest areas in that general region. So it's like just a matter of bad luck. It's not like with the D-Rex where you kind of know how big a helicopter is, you know how big the D-Rex generally is, and then you just see it like morph in size to engulf the helicopter.
Yeah, that was jarring.
Bizarre.
Yeah. But
so now Godzilla's essentially started his rampage at this point. You get a little bit more back and forth between Daxton and Kevin. Kevin's like, oh, you're just like, I want to be like, I want a plain old dad, not a tough dad, because everyone makes fun of me. I want to like to be a grown up and blah 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 blah. And Daxton just doesn't have like a whole lot to respond to with this.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking back to your Gamera Fortuous pitch with this, with all of this, like the whole Daxton and Kevin dynamic. I'm just thinking a lot back to that. I think it is just because of the whole father-son relationship thing.
Yeah, and I feel
central
like
to the story.
Yeah, I know. Like I know with that with my Gamma pitch, I really wanted like their interactions to be important thematically, and like I could understand Daxton being a bit more stoic, and like because this is a script, like Haru says, like it could be acted well. And I feel like if you had really good like screen language to present this dynamic between the two, it could probably elevate the dialogue. But I feel like
Yeah.
Daxton is a really stoic character, and a lot of like the interactions just sort of bounce off him, and we don't get a whole lot into like how he's feeling, except in a few moments.
Yeah.
So like
Also,
the
Kevin.
actor would have to
Also,
sell it.
also, Kevin is apparently 13, so I think I was right to say 7th grade-ish.
Yeah, like seventh, like late sixth, early seventh grade. Yeah.
Yeah, around there.
But then we come to page 56 where it says, Daxton, like Lee says, I've got some thinking to do. He exits. Kevin is near tears. Rodan shrieks from the TV. So, like, it's interesting that they mention that right there. And if Stout wanted to do a Rodan movie, how would they kind of like justify that? Like, would they just name Rodan the monster after Rodan the character from the show?
I think it's like,
Movie?
I would have.
Question. Wait. Is it on screen?
It says Rodan shrieks from the TV. So like it doesn't say a Rodan. You can hear Rodan shriek from the TV. It just says Rodan shrieks from the TV. So the idea I have in my head is that like you'd see Kevin in tears, probably the TV's in the background while Kevin's in the foreground, and you see like either like a shot from the 56 Rodan or something like that, and you hear the shriek. Like it feels like it's a fun Easter egg, but like if you want to do a Rodan movie, this is definitely going to cause some issues internally.
I think you could justify it by being like an in-universe creature that that sounds like him.
Yeah, it may be like it's like a fake creature that has Rodan's roar.
Because like
if it is actually Rodan, then it's like what?
Because this film does allude to like Godzilla-like creatures in this universe. Because obviously you have the arcade game with like monster destruction and shit. So it's not. So it's like I think you could get away with it if you don't just show the creature. If you do like, I believe if you do something like what Sonic 3 did with the BioLizard, where it's an in-universe film based on the character.
Yeah, or like how there's the Muto-esque Toho style posters in Ford's old home.
Yeah,
that could work. Yeah,
it would have to be like a diegetic movie, if that makes sense.
And then it's in this scene right here where the Russians finally appear again, where they end up kidnapping Kevin, which this is another reason why I like I want to like Daxton more, but like he gets snuck up on a lot. He's kind of just like proven to not be as smart as he should be. And like right here, he like loses his kid. And I'm not sure because then Honda comes to the scene as well. And this is on page 56. I'm not sure how they circumvent him as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you get a little shot here where Khrushchev's like, oh, I have your son, blah, 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 evil Russian. And it says like Daxton hangs up like a zombie. His mind is racing. Like you can tell he cares for Kevin, but because we don't see as much like details in the script about like what he's thinking all the time, he just comes off as a bit flat.
Yeah.
Which I think it more just has to do with the fact, again, we don't have any actual on-screen representations of like how this would look.
Yeah.
Although what's interesting is that I just called him not as smart as like he should be. He like notices, he says, I know that bell, I've heard it a million times. He says that they're under the bridge. So that's like a good detail that I like about where he's able to pick up on details such as this.
Evils in Russian.
Evils in Russian.
Evils in Russian.
Mm-hmm. And then once again, now we're getting more things having to do with the Russians, where Khrushchev kind of like essentially just monologues to Kevin about like, oh, like I lost my hand to your father, and I like made sure he couldn't fly helicopters well, which implies like he probably took his eye and all of that. They end up tying him up, and they're waiting for Daxton to come so they can do like the warhead switch off, which Kevin is able to escape the Russians due to being an escape artist. But like all throughout this, his pet lizard that we saw at the start of the film has been in his pocket the entire time.
How did that thing survive?
Yeah. Or like, how is it like? I could see it surviving, but like, how did it just stay in his pocket? Like, if something crazy had happened, you think it would just try to scurry off.
Yeah.
That is one very loyal lizard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, like I like the escape artist part because like that was already set up with the handcuffs and shit. So keeps that up.
Yeah, it keeps that up. I just feel like again, like I feel
just
like Kevin
the Russian stuff just feels really disjointed. Like really, not
because like we even cut
like,
away from it again. Like in
yeah,
the
it
next
just
scene,
feels
Dana
disconnected from it just feels disconnected from everything.
Mm-hmm. And like I think what's also weird too is that like with Ballinger, he was working on the projects with the baby Godzilla, but then now he doesn't have the security clearance to access any of this information. So I'm like wondering like sort of what's his relation to the government project. Like you'd think he'd be able to do everything that he does in the sequence here because he has Dana essentially distract a guard and then they hold him up at gunpoint to get all the information about what was going on with Godzilla and the baby Godzilla. And page 61, there's like a little Rocketeer reference because I know Stout had also worked on the Rocketeer as well. Or at least not Stout. Someone else did who was working on this project, Ed. And like the sequence kind of goes on for like a few pages again. And so finally you cut back to the Russians. And it really feels like they're just trying to tie up all the loose ends that they can at this point. But what's interesting here is that Kevin is able to use it, like find a flare gun and then use it on one of the Russian guards. And then while he's still inside this like little inside the building that they're at, he like fires it up, which is able to alert his dad. And I guess like I could see a kid doing that, but I also understand why people may think, oh, he's kind of acting a little too smart for his age. But I'd say take it or leave it here.
I've seen better and worse executions of this kind of thing in similar films. So like it's not out of the question. Yeah,
you come now to page 64 where Kevin finally actually just runs into Godzilla, where Godzilla attacked the ship and now he's just sort of like squatting or like sitting here in like the dark. And I know in the description, one of the links I have is his masterclass appearance, where he talks about how he wanted the scene to be kind of magical, where Kevin's kind of looking up at Godzilla. Godzilla's kind of looking down at him. The lizard pops out of Kevin's shirt and Godzilla notices the lizard. And they have this sort of like unspoken connection that the two have. And then Kevin kind of turns to look to see the henchmen, like the Russians coming after him, and Godzilla's just disappeared. Like it's like one of those scenes where I don't really like Kevin's inclusion in this story, but I do like this one scene that he has here with Godzilla. It's one of the scenes that does have like a lot of documented storyboards still present.
Yeah. We're gonna show those later.
Yeah.
But like just the visual of Godzilla rising up from the ground. This is the character in the West showing himself finally, and it's like I'd imagine even today this would be, if this were to happen, I'd imagine even today this would be a beautiful visual. Like 54 did something very similar, and it looks amazing with the Oto Island stuff.
It's like it is the moment Godzilla finally like shows himself in America in full. And already like you can tell.
I don't think it's in full, it's mostly just his head here primarily.
Yeah.
You know
like,
what I mean.
But
like
yeah,
his presence
like,
is now well and truly felt. And he already, I feel like you can just tell, even compared to other monsters at the time, he's something else.
Like, one thing I do like that the script has already been doing, it's giving Godzilla that reverence. I'd say it feels a lot like what G14 did, which...
like, it works. It works out really well. What was I going to say? So, like, and then going back, so now we finally get to see kind of Godzilla at his, like, full height, and he's now finally getting displayed in full. And Khrushchev kind of catches Kevin again, gets in a skiff, and because like, oh, it's Godzilla, now everyone starts firing on Godzilla, and you have Godzilla's tail kind of sweep and hit the skiff, which is when you have Kevin's little fake out death in the movie, which it doesn't, I don't feel like it hits that Daxon as hard as it should, unfortunately. Because it's like it's really quick, and like we don't get a lot of Daxon's internals about like seeing it just happened. But now I think we really just kind of transitioned into like the Godzilla rampage at this point, where you have Godzilla attacking the Golden Gate Bridge on like page 65. You have Ballinger sort of arguing with the guards on page 66, and like how he's telling them not to shoot don't do this, don't do that. It feels similar kind of to Yamane trying to tell the guards not to shine lights on Godzilla because it just upset him more. But it like I like he's just like as a character, he's just really fun. Where he's like, you'll like never take me. I have rights, blah 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 blah. Like it's fun. And now there really isn't too much to talk about writing wise, other than just sort of describing what you have here with some of the Godzilla sequences itself. A lot of it is Godzilla like picking up cars, picking up people, stepping on people. Like a lot, there would be a lot of shots where Godzilla is like crushing people underneath his feet. And like I wonder if like we would get something similar to how -1 is like the only Godzilla film where you see like people get crushed and you can hear like the squelch under his feet.
No,
like that's like a detail I love in that movie.
I was just about to say this sequence feels like the Ginza attack with the aesthetic of the Honolulu buildup. Like
exactly.
Honolulu buildup. That's what I'm thinking of. Which
I know in the Decker podcast that I have linked below, Decker had mentioned that like they were going to include a lot of military personnel that feel they're just useless. Like I understand the sentiment, but I feel like whenever you're going to do like a Godzilla versus military battle, you shouldn't go into it with the idea that the military are useless, because like one, it's going to make some of the action feel kind of hollow because you already know the outcome. But if the military is smart in how they behave, it makes the scenario feel more real, even if you know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah. No, like that's, I think for comparison, that's what makes something like War Machine work. Even if it is a military versus robot scenario, you have the military being smart with how they handle the robot, and that's what adds stakes. Especially when the plans fail, that makes things even more intense.
It also, I think, helps further cement the creature or the threat as an actual threat, because now it is like, it doesn't matter. Like, you throw your best at this thing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like it legitimizes the threat.
Yeah.
Like a big issue I have with like the 98 chase sequence is the fact that the tactics used are so inept that it doesn't make 98 look smart. It makes the military just look even stupider.
No, yeah, it's like, I mean, like I like the character moments that it evokes, but it comes at the cost of the military just being dumbasses. How the fuck are you missing him? It's right there.
Yeah,
he's
or
standing still.
Like you're really telling me that the moment Godzilla got up out of the ground, that you didn't have units placed like all over like every street in case he went down one of them?
Yeah, no, like that was something that Rose said earlier. Rose said when we were watching 98. That's part of what makes the ending not only insulting, but just unbelievable when they actually hit the missiles. Because even with Godzilla being restrained, the military up to this point is shown to be unable to hit anything besides the character. So it comes across as jarring that, oh, so now you can hit him.
Yeah. Or the fact that like Godzilla is like caught up in the tow cables, yet he's shown strong enough to like just push right through buildings and like dig through bedrock.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, that he should be able to just like claw his way out of the tow cables and like fall into the river.
Yeah. No, like we see him leap over one of the towers during the chase sequences. The chase sequence. Why didn't he do that the second time?
I can understand like him not doing it the second time, like just getting close and being blinded by rage. But like, again, Godzilla's already shown strong enough to like break through all of these other things that are more durable than this bridge. Godzilla shouldn't have been trapped here, or the fact that like the character should have died the moment he caught them in their jaws, because he was already shown to be able to just crush a helicopter that weighs immensely more than a taxi, and the slab of road that he had in his mouth.
Yeah, and you can't even say he was savoring the kill because he wasn't.
Yeah,
like that's not 98's character.
Exactly.
But here it's already given a hefty amount of like, you already feel like Godzilla is dangerous, not only based on the fact that the infant attacked a submarine, but
the infant attacked a submarine and died to it, but like we also have already seen several. Yeah,
it did damage,
and we've also seen Godzilla destroy a bunch of things beforehand too.
So it's like you already have that build up, which even the 98 destroyed a ship twice.
Yeah, and now going to page 73, it's funny because like now Ballinger's in the back of like a military vehicle, and someone's trying to essentially liberate him. And Ballinger's like, "You're gonna hear from my lawyer, you Nazis! You can't arrest a civilian." And then Daxton's like, solemnly, "We have to kill Ballinger." "Well, if it isn't the Marlboro Man, I suppose you still don't believe me, Daxton. You're not listening. We have to kill it." Daxton, what up, Ballinger? "Oh, now you want my help. I get it, Daxton. I don't want it, but as far as I know, you're the only one with a clue what makes this thing tick. So before a million other people get killed, Ballinger, what do you mean other people? Wait, where's Kevin?" And I think this is a good scene here with Ballinger and Daxton, and I wish there was a better back and forth. Again, Daxton feels just kind of flat. But this is where we get into the idea that they're probably going to try to nuke Godzilla, and Ballinger's like, "All right, but for God's sakes, those things are nuclear warheads. We cannot detonate one in the city." And Daxton says, "We have to lure the monster out of the city." So I think this is like when the implementation of the dragon missiles, which again aren't named dragon missiles here in this version of the story. Which it's interesting that like essentially Godzilla just dies of nuclear missiles here. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
It makes more sense than just garden variety missiles, especially since we already established that the infant can be hurt by it.
Yeah. So now we just get like a few more lines about like how they're gonna fight Godzilla, such as like the tank battalions, get the National Guard down here, airstrikes, etc., etc. You get a few more sequences with Godzilla, such as like people and bazookas firing at him, towering over like a few different structures, buildings, etc. All this information works out pretty well. The dialogue's fine for what it is. But finally you have them talk about like these Hawk missiles and how they might affect Godzilla, and essentially just the military scrambling to find a plan as to what they're going to do in order to stop him. Which again, everything seems to work out pretty well in terms of like how they're behaving, how they're acting, how Godzilla's behaving, the interactions Godzilla has. So there isn't too much to really include here. I just like the inclusion of all this different military equipment is nice, and I feel like it's oftentimes missing in some Godzilla movies where it's very much just glossed over what the military is doing. But we get this sequence here, which starts on page 77, and it's Dragon Squadron versus Godzilla, and Godzilla's just sort of swiping at the planes and stuff and not really sure what to do, which is weird because we've already known that Godzilla can use his atomic breath, so why doesn't he use it here? And the only reason I think that is the case is because they want to save it up for a kind of money shot that they have with it, because a bunch of characters comment on it.
I mean, you could probably justify it that he's saving it. He saves it for like desperate situations. I think if you were to rewrite this script, you could add that element in there where it's like it takes a lot of energy out of him, so Godzilla's smart enough to know to use it for only when he has to. And then it's on page.
Yeah. Oh no, go.
Yeah. No, like I finished.
Okay, gotcha. Because I'm gonna say page 79 is where you get the infamous like cable sword scene where Godzilla picks up this cable car and then kind of uses it like a bat or a club in order to swipe these jets out of the sky.
I like that. I like that visual, but it's weird.
I don't like it because like tonally Godzilla just is not very anthropomorphic in this movie.
No, let me-
so then him doing something like this,
Let me correct myself. Like, correction. I like the visual in a vacuum, but for this, no.
Yeah. Like, I think had this movie come out, I'd probably be like, if you're saying Godzilla's goofy, but then you have Godzilla like use a cable car like a sword, and then I'd probably cut to like Megalon with the tree thing, or like King Kong with the tree thing. It's just like it's a very anthropomorphic Godzilla. It's not something I would have him do. Like, if you had to do something similar, I'd probably have him like picking up cars and trucks with his like mouth and like hooking them in the air, kind of like bullets.
Yeah, or even just use his tail.
Yeah, or well, he does try to use his tail. He uses his claws and his tail to try to swipe at the planes, which is why he then resorts to the sword. While you use the plane, I studied the blade. But yeah, that sequence kind of goes on for a little bit, and ultimately Godzilla does emerge victorious. And I know one of the planes ends up crashing into a building, which is where you pick up again with Dana. But now it's just sort of essentially just a pissing contest between Dax and General Heller and a few of the other like military higher ups. Because I know Heller plays a bigger role in the earlier scripts. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they reduced sort of like this interaction that they had, which I'm like, I'm okay with it. But I just feel like now that we've gotten to Godzilla's in the city, a lot of the characters are just kind of scrambling to stop him instead of like really contributing anything worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's on page 33, we get a familiar looking newscaster, and it says, and here in San Francisco, time has turned back millions of years, which I assume they were probably going to try to get like Raymond Burr to come back to voice Steve Martin or something like that, or at least the Steve Martin again in this universe. Because it says familiar looking newscaster, but they don't really say who. So I guess like they probably would have like removed it if they weren't able to get Burr, probably.
I mean, I think they probably would have been able to get Burr.
Yeah, it's a cool detail. And I think, like, honestly, I would be curious, had Burr signed on for the project, how much of it would he have changed? Or like would have asked to have changed? Because at least in this case, they're treating Godzilla with like a level of respect to where I think Burr would have happily done it, but then maybe if had his own thoughts on something. But yeah, one of the F-16s that Godzilla knocks down lands into the actual editorial building where Dana and Judy are. And with Judy, again, page 83, another line that would probably get this movie canceled in the modern day. Judy weekly, boy, the guys in this town, either they're gay or they grope you, or they're big and green and throw jets into buildings.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Say it with me, people. Only the
80s. But yeah, so
that's a cool. Are you still there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. And one interesting detail is that Dana, I'm not sure how she does this, although maybe it's like it's unit like if you look at it, you could probably guess how to do it. The plane, obviously the ejection seat didn't go off, so you get she like gets the dead pilot's body out of the F-16 and then uses the ejection seat to launch herself out of the building because she looks and sees the elevators aren't able to be used, as well as the stairwells blocked by fire. So like that's like a cool little detail there.
Yeah, no, I like that.
But yeah, so now like she lands and now she's able to reconnect with Ballinger. Ballinger's tape. And now they're looking for a way to draw Godzilla out of the city, which just more details about Godzilla stomping on people, missiles firing, yada yada. Nothing like too crazy. But finally, Daxon is able to load one of the warheads onto this helicopter, and Khrushchev returns, and he's like, "Evil's in Russian." And now it's like nice that we're gonna get like a human fight scene in the movie, but with how little the Russians have contributed to this, it just feels like not even obligatory. It just feels like you need to have this happen, so it feels like the Russians had some value to the story.
Also, Sabrina, I actually think many queer people would love that line today. Not gonna lie, trust me, we say
some
about each other.
Probably like someone's gonna get offended by something. So
Oh yeah, no, without question.
Yeah.
But like, it's still funny.
Mhm.
It's a military movie from the 80s. Of course, someone's gonna piss themselves over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fight between Khrushchev and Daxon goes on for a little bit until finally you have the fake out where Daxon almost falls off and is able to then launch Khrushchev off, lands on Godzilla's hand, and then Godzilla like absolutely demolishes that man.
What page was that?
That is page 89, from 88 to 89.
Oh, it reacts to the monster's angle on Godzilla's jagged spine. Oh yeah, Godzilla full shot night. Godzilla holds up his claw, and the plummeting Khrushchev lands on it with a thud. Godzilla looks down as his eyes widen at the little screaming man he's holding. The great beast's massive chest abruptly expands as if inhaling, and then he pulls his head back, and as they begin to glow with atomic energy, and as a great fire. God,
I don't
that
think
is
anyone
one way
as
to go.
no one like the only person to get it that bad is Shindo.
No,
Yeah, but Shindo
no,
like
no.
went
The
out
thing
with,
that gets me, the thing that gets
that.
me here, the thing that gets me here at the end, like, note, audience goes bananas here.
I love some of the details that Decker has in this script because you could tell he was enjoying himself when he wrote the script.
No, like I can
details like
imagine
that are
if this were to be made, like some as is, and then like shown at G Fest, I'd imagine the audience would just go nuts.
fun. Yeah.
That is one hell of a way to go.
Mm-hmm. Which is then like right here, you see it says like a bunch of people like react to Godzilla's atomic breath, and I think it's because Decker wanted to have this scene here with Khrushchev dying by Godzilla's atomic breath. That's why he doesn't use it throughout the sequences beforehand.
No, like, I mean, it is a good introduction to the atomic breath, but it's like,
yeah, which is why
Well, like,
honestly they should have just wrapped up the Russian plot earlier, so that we
Yeah.
could have him use the atomic breath more.
yeah, like if you had him use it against, or like
Yeah, you cut out again.
and they had to use the dragon missile, Godzilla like uses it. Like
Mhm.
if the Russians had to put their differences aside and they use the dragon missile on Godzilla or something,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and he like uses the beam.
And I know one
yeah.
of the missiles is used and it doesn't work, but then we cut back to like Dana and Ballinger who recruits the first guy that Dana like duped, whose name is Tony, and essentially they're trying to use the tape of the baby Godzilla sound to lure Godzilla back out. And like a lot of this kind of seems to drag because you have Khrushchev leave with the helicopter so they can have their fight, and then Daxon has to go back, but the helicopter's knocked out of the sky by Godzilla, so then he has to like take the missile by hand and head back to the base. It's interesting, but I feel like the sense of time just doesn't make sense. And you're having to just like cut between just like general like civilian running and like all the Godzilla sequences. This is where you can really see a lot of the bloat from like the characters and the stories like interconnecting, really like showing here. But with like how much action there is for this, like I bet like audiences wouldn't care too much because of you would be getting a lot of shots of just Godzilla firing his breath or like attacking buildings, helicopters, things like that. But like page 93, like another one of those notes, it says 2 tanks melt under the surge of Godzilla's fire array. People scream and run for cover. Is this a Godzilla movie or what? Question mark.
Fuck.
Hold up, what page is that?
That is
93.
page 93.
Towards the bottom, or like
Yeah,
towards the middle bottom. Is this a Godzilla movie or what?
You can tell he was having fun with this.
He is. And like
No,
again,
like-
if you watch the podcast that he's on, you can tell he was enjoying himself with this.
Yeah,
And
no,
then
it's like you can tell. But yeah, you go on.
Yeah. 94 at the end of it is when Godzilla finally sees the body of the dead baby Godzilla, and the top of 95 is when they talk about like Godzilla's expression and all of this. And you see that like Godzilla's expression. It's very similar to how it is with 98, where he goes from like very sad to then angry, and then starts like to like really ramp up his rampage. But it's also like right about here where they kind of cut it off too, because ultimately they're able to get like the sound system working, or are able to start luring Godzilla out into the bay because of Ballinger and Dinah. And from about pages 97 all the way to about 98, you Daxon's finally returned to the base. Yeah. But on page 97 is when we are introduced to the S98, not 98, the S78 Hornet, which is like it's probably some kind of advanced helicopter like prototype machine, similar to like the Super X. So it's interesting that they introduce essentially like a super weapon similar to 84, just like essentially a year before 84 anyway.
Yeah.
And then right on page 98, Daxon like says, let's nuke this SOB, which is interesting. I wonder like if people would be like, and right there, it was in that moment when this film disrespected Godzilla. You should never, ever talk about nuking Godzilla in a Godzilla movie. It seems like let's go. If I had a nickel for every time they talked about nukes in a Godzilla movie called Godzilla King of the Monsters and people took issue with it, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened twice.
I still want to have that. I still want to have that stream where we talk about Godzilla's sacrifice, because
Sarazawa's sacrifice, but yeah,
Sarazawa's sacrifice from the King of the Monsters. But it's like, I like at the same time, what good is that gonna do? Because the people who already believe that are so like poisoned. That what is the point?
Rose Puppy's comment. My name isn't Godzilla Toya. You killed my baby. Prepare to die.
Literally. But now on page 99 to about 100 is when Godzilla is now landed on Alcatraz. Daxon's now gotten into the Hornet, but essentially, like, in order for Kevin to feel more relevant to the plot, he essentially gets in there with his dad, and the rest of the sequence is essentially them like positioning the Hornet in a way where they're able to shoot the missile down Godzilla's throat, which ultimately Kevin is the one to do it. So it's the kid who pulls the trigger and kills Godzilla. And
I think the game foreshadowed this.
The game foreshadows it. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. And it's like, it's interesting that they have him do it, and it's on page 104 where Kevin like looks at Godzilla and he's like, "I'm sorry," and then pulls the trigger. And it seems like whatever the missile does, it sort of like disrupts his like his nuclear processes, and essentially Godzilla slumps over and ultimately dies.
Yeah. We talked a bit about the whole pro nuke thing briefly, but I'm viewing this in a very similar way to the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Like, yeah, it has a similar vibe too, because like you have the monster in like an isolated location. 2 people go in order to shoot something into a vulnerable area and are able to dispatch the monster. And similar to how the Beast kind of rides around in pain before it dies, Godzilla does something very similar. Granted,
both of them also utilize radiation as both the cause and effect, as like the cause and conclusion of the film. But it's like, it's not really viewing radiation in like a good or bad light.
I would say, if anything, the film does a lot to show that radiation is not a good thing.
Yeah. Because like they're actively like, this is one of the few times, and even then it's like it's a necessary thing. It's like they kind of, what else were you gonna do?
Yeah. Like I think like, and the other thing too is that because you have so many like loose plots with characters kind of hanging around here, you're cutting between a lot of it, because I didn't even mention it. Because Tony, Dana, and Ballinger used the boat to get to Alcatraz to set up the sound system here. Godzilla's kind of holding on to the boat because he hears the sound coming from the boat specifically, and it's sort of cut between are the other characters able to get off the boat and save themselves from Godzilla while they're trying to fire the dragon missiles and kill them. Like, I think it'd be a fun sequence, but I just feel like they needed some way to get like all of our main cast members in a spot where they could be in danger, and this was the best that he could come up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fine. Like, I like the ending. I feel like the resolution that Kevin and his dad have is not the strongest, but I think that given the fact that Kevin kind of really wanted his independence, he doesn't really like learn anything valuable through defeating Godzilla by the end of this, or really have like a deeper connection with his father about anything.
Yeah.
It just sort of ends.
It just ends. It's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Godzilla King of the Monsters 3D.
Yeah, just the third revised one. We may go and do the other ones, but I feel like going over the third revised draft makes the most sense because
that's the most recent version. That's the most recent version of the script, like the most complete.
Exactly. But I think also, without further ado, we can actually kind of talk, like, end things off by talking about the thing that we would want to talk about, which is the design
and the storyboard art.
Yeah, which I have both of those. So give me 1 second.
Yeah, I think story-wise, it's okay.
I don't like it. It's inoffensive. I would have found the movie likable enough if it were to come out, but I think it suffers a lot from just like way too many characters and way too many.
Not even just the way too many characters part. It also just feels like, you said it earlier, it feels like 3 movies connected in one, and it barely does anything to join them. Like, the Russians are very underutilized.
Yeah. There we go. Perfect.
Alrighty.
Do not fuck with the maquette.
I will fight you, and I will diddle you.
I will win.
No, you won't.
I like this. I like this.
You'll win in the sense that you'll enjoy it.
First of all, I'll chop your balls off, and secondly, I'll chop your dick off.
First of all, you'd have to find a knife sharp enough to do that. Pure tungsten boy. Why do you think I walk with purpose?
Nah, I'd win.
Talk like Gojo, die like Gojo, boy.
Hey, and if that's the case, I still win, because then a bunch of Twitter freaks kill themselves over that.
I see that as an absolute win.
See, there's not a scenario here where I lose, Zim.
It's either you lose or you both win, Zim.
I'm dead. But
like at least to me, go. It's very clear what this very dinosaur-like, and based off what I've said before, I don't like Godzillas that lean to. There's a scale to Godzilla designs. You've got, like, in the middle, and I just imagine on one hand you got super dinosaur ones, now the other hand you got more mammalian looking ones. This one goes really far into the dinosaur end, to the point that I think it starts to look like a Godzilla stand-in, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And contrasted to 94, which keeps elements that keep the like Godzilla identifiable, like ears and fangs in the head, not being a like contemporary version of a T-Rex. The head that most resembles Godzilla 94, Stan Winston Goji, is Charles R. Knight's 1920s T-Rex, I think. This is very much a contemporary Tyrannosaurus Rex reconstruction from the time, like pre-Renaissance, if that makes sense. So like pre-discovery of Deinonychus T-Rex head, and very retro. And I think it kind of misses the point that Godzilla is not just a big dinosaur. And I think it also kind of goes against what they're saying. It's like, it looks like a dinosaur, but it's not a dinosaur. But this is just a dinosaur. I think if they added ears and fangs and other things that make this thing very evidently not just a big T-Rex with spikes on its back, it would help sell this thing as something different than just a big T-Rex. The storyboard art fixes this somewhat, where it's not as evident But I still think presence of like ears and fangs would help, as I've said before. Not nearly enough designs have those like around, and I feel as though that's a mistake.
Yeah, like I like the design. I think that whenever it comes to like US Godzilla designs, leaning into the dinosaur angle, I think is better, because whenever they try to like make Godzilla 2 Godzilla, they often do a 98, or they try to make it far too realistic with 2014. And I do agree that the 94 is the best of both worlds. Although, as someone who loves his retro dinosaurs, his pre-Renaissance and his like early Renaissance dinosaur art, there's just something charming I find about this design. Like, I love how, at least in this little spread here, it's actually a shot of the maquette that has all of the spines for the most part, where in most other shots you see of it, the a lot of these little plates are gone.
Mhm.
But what's interesting is that there is this one shot of the head that's right next to the forward profile shot of the maquette that's in the green. That head looks really close to like classic Godzilla. And then the 4 shots,
Which one are we looking at? Which one are we looking
you see
at?
where we're seeing the maquette like head on, where it's like facing us, the head right to its left.
You're talking about right by its legs?
Right by its
That one?
legs. Like that looks way more like classic Godzilla.
Yeah, that is very like classic. I feel like it would have helped, at least to me, because like,
Mhm.
and I've always, like, even back then, I always was like, Godzilla never, in most depictions, never looked like a retro T-Rex, even back during when retrosaurs were like the standard in the contemporary. To me, the theropod Godzilla always looked more like was Acrocanthosaurus, because T-Rex has such a specific head shape that has been so known for so long that whenever someone says, I'm like, do you like, I know what they mean, but I also don't get it, because of the fact that I've known dinosaurs for so long that I just know what a T-Rex's head looks like without even needing to like think about it.
Yeah.
That it's never not bothered me.
And I know, like, I didn't show it here in any of these, but there is one shot that's stout, like on our piece that he did, where Godzilla's attacking the Golden Gate Bridge with the atomic breath, and
that
the
head
body
is very T-Rex.
Well, not just very T-Rex. It looks specifically like the Sinclair T-Rex.
That's the Sinclair. I thought that was Charles R. Knight who drew that.
No. The Sinclair T-Rex are like the T-Rex statues that you see in a lot of places. Like, that was a very common.
Could you send? I feel like we're talking about two different things. I'm gonna send what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Is it the one from Frankenstein Conquers the World, or
No. That's definitely based off of Knight's T-Rex. I'm talking about this one for the World Fair T-Rex, and I'll show you the piece that I'm referencing.
I'm sending what I was thinking of with like that art piece, because I know which one you're talking about. This
Yes,
T-Rex.
that T-Rex, but like specifically, I think that the Sinclair T-Rex based its head off of Knight's T-Rex. But if you're to look at Stout's art, it looks more like the Sinclair T-Rex than Knight's painting. So that's the Sinclair statue.
I really wish you had that one, so that we could look at it, compare it directly.
I will show it when I find it. Yeah, I just found it.
It's in the server. Oh, you found it.
Yeah,
like with the like giant brows.
Yeah, exactly. So let me show it here for everyone.
Yeah, because those brows are massive.
Yeah, specifically, like, let me see. Will it let me zoom in?
That is huge.
No.
Yeah, like right there.
Those are huge,
very
brows.
noticeably T-Rex.
Yeah, that is like the most T-Rex Godzilla I've ever seen in my life, and it's just like, it starts like, I can tell that's obviously Godzilla, but it goes into what I like to call what your parents think when they think Godzilla.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I still feel like Stan Winston struck the best balance. And like,
but what's interesting too is that like
there are things I would augment about the Stan Winston if I was to do it myself, which I might do once I get around to doing that. Just put my own spin on things for the fun of it. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my, like, if you were to tell me what I believe when I think of the quote unquote perfect American Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. And what's interesting too is that let me remove this. Oh, why did cut there's Minecraft?
Sorry, I misclicked.
No, you're good. But like, let me stop sharing that because I want to show another picture that Stout drew of Godzilla, which is also just very Godzilla looking. It's this one right here. But like looking at the head, the neck, it's more Godzilla than dinosaur.
No, yeah, that like the neck especially. That's Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
That is
As
Godzilla.
I know he did this piece here with King Kong. This one is just like it's almost like a mixture of like retro T-Rex and then 62 Godzilla because that's obviously very much 62 Kong. Whereas in this one, it's more like 33 Kong, or at least like general public domain-esque, like what people think of when they think of King Kong. Or even like these pictures here, which was on that other graphic I showed. They look more Godzilla-esque. But like, I don't know, I've always had a very soft spot for this design. And then there's
Like
this picture
I
by Matt
definitely
Frank.
think it's not like I don't hate this design, but it's just like it's going in a direction I am generally like with like just being the most tism to ever tism. I'm
looking at the Hanna-Barbera design for a comparison's sake, and I think
it's just the most stereotypical Godzilla, and I'm just like, to me, it's just that's like both. It plays it safe. It's like it's
very safe. It's very much your boomer parents' idea of Godzilla.
Yeah, which
this
is
boomer
generally
Godzilla, and that's kind of why I don't like it to as much as Stan Winston, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you have because like this, Marvel and Hanna-Barbera to me are a trio. Like those were very heavily affecting how Godzilla was perceived at that point.
Mm-hmm. Are you gonna add anything, Minecraft, or just
no? That's it.
Yeah, like I think definitely.
No, I would like to call out Serena's. I actually would like to call out Serena's comment. G14 is the most Godzilla American Godzilla has felt to me, because I'll be honest, I've always felt like the Stan Winston Godzilla felt too skinny. Like his legs should be thicker to support his weight. I think I don't really see a problem with the legs for Stan Winston.
I think also the Winston Goji is just smaller than the 14 MonsterVerse Godzilla.
How big is
he's like 70 meters?
Yeah, like around the same size as 84.
He's roughly the same size as like Trago as well, which is exactly why I'm going that direction. Specifically, I'm using Delgado's sketches of Stan Winston of the 94 Godzilla for Trago.
Yeah. Okay, so I like to end it off because obviously I did like a little piece here of like a version of this design inspired by the maquette art, and like I may do more with like a similar like story idea. And I know like even for this design, I feel like this Godzilla design only works if it's a lot smaller than Godzilla normally is. Like I'm thinking about this guy like being like around 30 some odd meters.
Yeah,
which would be like smallest Godzilla.
120 is a jump.
Yeah, 120 meters for this Godzilla is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of get it. Kind of keeping him in line with the buildings he'll be around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that makes sense, but it's still like by contrast to Showa, it's a jump.
I would have probably kept it at 70 or 80, just hit the sweet spot. Because to me, 70 or 80 is the sweet spot for kaiju height.
Yeah,
like where you're small enough to get some direct human interactions if that's what you need, but big enough to still tower over some buildings.
I think 60 or 50 at the lowest. Because like,
it's funny because like when you think of America, you think go bigger, go badder, and then the first like American idea of Godzilla is gonna be huge.
Yeah, no, he was gonna be double Showa's height over that, like 2.5 times Showa's height.
Yeah.
But yeah, really isn't too much to add. Like I like the strip for what it is. There's a lot I would change. A lot of it would include like removing the Russian stuff, probably giving Ballinger more to do, give Daxton more to do, remove Kevin as his character as it is.
Yeah.
What I would have done is, at least for me, I would have I would have probably cut all of the Kevin stuff. It's superfluous at best. And so I just got rid of that. Make the and involve the Russians more. I would say that the dragon missiles become a relevant thing where they realize Godzilla is drawn to them in some way. And so it ends with Godzilla taking his rage out on the Soviets. And, you can have the climax being them trying to get out of the base because I don't know, they got imprisoned or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it just ends with the base going up in just a ball of fire because Godzilla blows it all up. And they're just kind of feeling for him because it was a parent that lost its child acting out in rage, until you can end it off on a cliffhanger of, actually, no, Godzilla's not dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Minecraft, anything that you would probably want to add?
No, yeah. Pretty much everything that Cougar said, though I'd also make Ballinger our protagonist instead of Daxton, or have them both share protagonist roles. You have two separate protagonists doing their own thing that ultimately, well, not doing their own thing, but that bounce off each other, and then Dana is here doing her thing. Because Dana is important to the plot, yes. So she's saying Kevin really didn't need to be here. But I think Baxton or Bellinger was the most interesting character, at least to me, in the script, or at least the most enjoyable. So flesh him out a little bit further, flesh Daxton out a little further, and then tie the Soviets more directly. So keep the dragon missiles. Maybe that's what Godzilla's after, because maybe for a misunderstanding, or they drew him to San Francisco for some reason and involve them further into the climax, or excuse me, throughout the story. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I might plan to do something with this idea because I like it, and I think that there's something to salvage from it. I'd say between 2014, this 98 and 94, I'd say potential wise, I like this script the most. 94, I think, is the best. 2014 is the most well, it's as some of the more realistic aspects to it, and then 98 is just 98.
98 is 98.
Yeah.
It's and for the first, technically second attempt at an American Godzilla film, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's not really, it just really could be tweaked, which can be said about pretty much anything, even the 94 script.
Exactly. Without further ado, I'd say it's time for some shillings. I will bring you up to the solo front to do your shillings, and then the next person, and we'll be all set.
Alrighty, you can find me here on YouTube at Minecraft World 1954. That's my @ or just Minecraft World. I was hoping to do a stream on Tokyo SOS and Final Wars before moving out, but I don't think I'll be able to do that. So I'll probably do Tokyo SOS next week, and then Final Wars once I'm back home. But yeah, and I have essays in the work, though finals has been distracting me a lot from them, so I haven't really been able to do much. I've mostly just been focusing on schoolwork and shit. And I'll hopefully be able to get more work done over the summer. So yeah. And and you can also find me on Instagram and Kara and Blue Sky. I need to update my Kara. But on Blue Sky, I'm semi-active. And then on Instagram, I'm very active. I just as Hoshi said earlier, as Hoshi alluded to earlier, I wrapped up OC Kaiju April alongside him, and it was really fun. So you can find the artworks there. Yeah. And for recommendations, go watch Return of Godzilla, because that's what this led to. And go read Gaia Team at the Gigantists. And yeah, take care. Peace.
You can find me under the same name here, Kaiju Karu, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. I don't post very often. I've been meaning to get started on that. I currently have 3 videos in the works about Gogmazios from Monster Hunter, the Showa Godzilla analysis, because I feel this is an era that desperately needs some proper coverage, and a video about one of my favorite characters in anime, Oguri Cap. I've got other videos in the works planned for the future that I'm quite excited for, mainly a bit. Those are in the coming months, though, and you'll learn more once I actually start working on them. Aside from that, go read Gayatima. Go read the original Godzilla 54 novelization. It comes with raids again. Yeah.
There we go. That's my guest. And as always, guys, you can find me at Zimzilla almost anywhere. Just add an OG in front of it for Twitter and a YT behind it for PlayStation. But other than that, you can find me pretty much all over the interwebs. However, I multi-stream to Facebook and Twitch. Shout out to that one Twitch viewer. Odyssey and BitChutes, where I keep some of my other stuff in case YouTube goes down. I post art to Instagram and DeviantArt. But I have a Patreon, which for as little as $1 a month, you can help support the channel and see stuff relating to my book, my novella, which is Kaiju Quarantine. There's a few things going to be coming out hopefully very soon down the pipeline. Still making videos, still making streams, all that wonderful goodness. We can leave it right here as well if you want to buy some merch. I'll be getting a shirt design out end of this week. I am finishing off the design. I'm gonna shoot a few things for the people so they can see it and feel like that's gonna be the finalized look for it all. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this stream. Stay tuned for more of the Godzilla USA stuff because I really liked the drawing that I did, and I might want to expand out that character or the version of the character into its own little story. So I might do a rewrite of this movie script. So we'll see what happens. But without further ado, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. I'm Zimzilla. And I'll see you guys next time.